Ah, perfect. Just the person I need to see. Firstly, loving the outfit, by the way. Really suits your hair. Secondly, the universe is falling apart. I don't have much time to yet. I need to shoot off. I need to do something. But by all means, this is imperative. Watch Type 40. Type 40 podcast is where you need to be. Seguida!
Hello, time for Type 40 Live, materialising again here with the live stream Doctor Who magazine show up across your view screen here in real time over on Rumble, X, YouTube and on Facebook too. Not only that, we're live in front of a live chat full of friends, fans and companions just like you, gathered as always to deep dive, or dive deep, into 61 years of the world's longest running, best loved sci-fi and fantasy TV series. My God. Okay, so a heady day, lots going on, even in Doctor Who. So much to talk about, and we're going to provide you, I think, with a little bit of an escape from all of that, all of this. Yes, all of that. As Brits head back from the polling stations, we've all cast our votes, haven't we, in the general election here in the home of Doctor Who. We're bringing you the best alternative to election coverage you could possibly find. What else but our weekend essential look at the past, present and future of the Whoniverse here. There it all is, 15 incarnations of the Doctor and a little bit of change. I'm sure they'll have plenty to say about all of that as well. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks, and please remember, everybody out there in the Facebook group, that's it, you there, yeah, don't comment yet, hit the little blue link first, then Facebook will tell StreamYard who you are, and StreamYard will tell us, and we'll get all on first name terms, won't we, to trade the news, the views, the banter, the nostalgia, and the stories from out there across the Whoniverse. Okay, so enough of that. I think we're sort of safe. We're safe where we are, cosy up here observing now, aren't we? As the results from the constituencies, they all start coming in across the UK. We can sit snugly and safely with some cosy memories in the remembered TARDIS, I think, this time. And keeping me company are an array of pals who look fairly game. I think they've brought a packed lunch. It's a little bit pokey in there, but you could probably balance a pork pie, or a miniature pork pie at least, somewhere maybe, Charlotte?
It depends where. See, I said this before, I didn't realise how small that set was until it showed up in the finale. Like, they were so like that, weren't they? And I was like, I had no idea it was like that, even from the tail stuff. And I just think you can't fit normal people in that TARDIS.
It's very snug. Yeah, take a packed lunch, have a picnic maybe. Okay, maybe not a miniature pork pie, but you could definitely fit a Scotch egg somewhere. That could be the best. But I was just looking at that and thinking, Charlotte, because it's quite a small set, there's a lot of lighting in there. They must have been scorching hot.
Well, yeah, and Shutu was wearing a leather jacket, so that would have added to it.
He was indeed. And speaking of the leather jacket, it's time we welcome back our fashion correspondent. What on earth is he wearing this time? I'm happy to say he's looking sheepish. He knows who I mean. Simon, it's you. Welcome back.
I was looking sheepish because I've never really thought of myself as a fashion correspondent before. But yeah, maybe that's what I am. That's probably all I'm destined to be.
People always remark about what you're wearing. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I've been off for a couple of weeks, and it's just been an absolutely crazy, mad week this week. Do you know what it's like when you go on holiday, and then you need a holiday when you get back, because there's just so much stuff to catch up on when you get home that your feet just don't seem to touch the ground. So it's just been a crazy, mad week. So it's a miracle I'm even here, to be honest. But I am here, and it's good to be back.
It's always nice to get home, but the worst thing about getting home from a holiday is when you forget that you hadn't tidied up when you'd left, as you find a bit of a mess. So was your place a bit like the Remember TARDIS?
Very much like. There's nobody's tidied up in that TARDIS, have they? I was amazed to discover, and Richard Brooks, I could see in the comment section, has already said it's a messy set, and it really is a messy set. And I only just discovered that apparently that set was made specifically for Empire of Death.
That's right.
And then they reused it for Tales of the TARDIS. I assumed it was the other way round.
Yeah, the way Russell spoke, he was like...
Yeah. And so, to be honest, I find I'm even more speechless that they could actually design that for the main parent show, because it's barely suitable to me for Tales of the TARDIS, but it certainly isn't suitable for the main show. So I'm absolutely astounded that they actually designed that.
Yeah, I really agree. That's boggled my brain a bit now.
Yeah. The Tales things, they were filmed about 6 months later. Something like that.
I didn't realise this. I'm just amazed I'm just even more incredulous that they actually created that for the parent show. There we go.
Standing room only, Simon. Happily, there's a lot more seating area here in our console room. Room enough for John Yulden, certainly.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. Well, I am a shorty, aren't I? So I'll fit in.
Oh, bless you.
They don't know that. You don't ruin the magic.
Well, yeah, the camera makes you look about 9 foot, doesn't it?
Hello, mate. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, good to be on here and looking forward.
You're in your hobbit hole.
Yeah, I am in the Shire.
Yeah. Do you like a messy TARDIS, John, or a tidy one, or something in between? What do you think?
I prefer messy because it means you haven't got to put the effort in of cleaning up, have you?
Oh, you lazy devil!
Yeah, you just keep it as it is.
But I can't believe that we've used this one this time, because when you've got people coming round, you actually like to tidy up a bit, don't you? Have the place looking its very, very best. Fortunately for us, the guest that we've got, the returning panelist this time, he's been here several times before, and if he's not run away up to now, he probably never will. We've got the man, the legend, the handbag himself, Adam Charlton's back. Hello, mate.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back, amigo.
Thank you so much, John. You can't be any shorter than me. I'm like
that sounds like a dare.
That's a challenge, yeah.
Look, the truth of it is, we're actually all quite short. We're all only about this big, folks. There's none of us are giants.
When we meet, we're going to have a short off.
Yeah, we're going to have a short person convention. We are like play people. Okay, that's about all we are.
We've all been made by Tom from T-Dwarf Productions in reality.
Here we go. That's how big I actually am in reality.
Oh, I love it. Hot robot.
Shelf right now.
Oh no! I've killed Broton. Sorry, Broton.
Yeah. The reality is, folks, Lenny's actually the tallest.
Yeah, he is.
We just use computer graphics to make him look shorter.
Or we all exist in a playhouse, apart from Charlotte, who sat there looking down on us all, playing with us, moving us from room to room.
we all ride Lenny to the shops every day.
Lenny is, by the way, folks, Lenny is in the building. He's just relaxing. He's been out all day at one of his mates' house, so he's actually relaxing at the moment, watching the Wimbledon.
I do love the fact that your dog has got mates.
He has been at one of his mates' house. Somebody's been Lenny sitting all day long. He's a bit worn out. He's worn out, bless him. But he'll make an appearance, I dare say.
get him to run around the remembered TARDIS. Adam, what did you make of this on screen? Because all these trinkets and objets d'art from 60-odd years worth of Doctor Who history, even when there's not any actors in there, does this sort of warm the cockles a little bit, even if the series has been found wanting?
Do you know what? It reminds me a little bit of the interior of the Peter Cushing movie. You know how messy that was?
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of an updated version of that. I like the idea of this with all the stuff in it, but I'm not sure they've quite got it, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure if it's quite translated to screen. But one thing that surprises me with that console, Dan, is there may be enough room for a pork pie in there, but there's no room for spoons. You won't find a spoon in there. No. Even though the Seventh Doctor loves to play one, you won't find a spoon in there, which is...
I just noticed, is that Handles with his head poking through one of the roundels towards the right?
Where are we looking?
We're all peering. We're now all peering.
We literally are.
We are literally peering. Where are you looking, Dan? Where are you looking?
The large whitish roundel next to the top console in the...
To the right of
Handles. That is
Handles. Yeah, that's Handles.
I mean, with hindsight, I think with hindsight, the problem with this is that it looks like a set.
Yes.
It looks like a set. It looks like a set for Totally Doctor Who or something like that. You throw a sofa in there and bingo, whack a former Blue Peter presenter on it and bingo, you've got your special feature or whatever it is.
Or it looks the kind of thing that you would have at one of the old exhibitions, the Cardiff exhibition or something like that. It'd be part of the interactive section where all the kids have to pull a lever and press a button. It'd be something like that.
Yeah.
You're right. It looks like a set. It's horrible.
I think I can see the flux capacitor from the DeLorean right in the middle of the set. Look there. Going on.
I thought one of them was like a pool noodle or a blow-up banana, but it turns out it's one bit of the Eccleston console room. So endless joy, endless joy to be found staring into this thing. It's a lot safer than going down to your polling station. The Daleks are everywhere there, look. But we are providing an alternative to election night here, because all the billing and cooing it's sort of been done, at least for the time being. And you've done your bit, I would hope. So it's time to chill out here with our blend of news, views, nostalgia, banter, dad jokes, fan art. Just remember to hit the little blue link and do the thing by all means. Simon, you've been off on your travels, haven't you? You've been up on holiday, but you haven't been able to escape Doctor Who. Have you sent me this picture back? So who is this?
Look at that. Yeah, that was literally just last week. In fact, I think, as I recall, it was actually last Thursday when we should have been here. And this is at a place called Flamborough in Yorkshire. If anybody's been to Flamborough, there we go. Flamborough Village Hall. Dan, you were the one that when I sent the photo through, you pointed out and said that the doors have a sort of vaguely mind robber TARDIS look to them, which they do. So Flamborough is seriously one of the most beautiful places in the world you can possibly go to. In fact, they should have filmed modern Doctor Who there. It's just this beautiful headland with magnificent cliffs. We stood. Lenny was with us, and we stood and we watched seals in the sea just playing below us. It's just a beautiful spot. And as we were driving around the little tiny village there, there was a scarecrow festival going on where all the scarecrows are made out of plant pots. So the Dalek and the Tom Baker are made out of plant pots, and so everywhere you go in town, there are these. It's a bit creepy, to be honest. It's a bit like the Wicker Man or something. There are just these plant pot scarecrows everywhere, all over town. And of course, we just happened to be driving past the village hall, and there was Tom and a Dalek. And if you can see that the appendages there, the eye stalk and the gun stick and the plunger, are actually made out of solar lights that you would put in a garden. So they light up at night. So as we drove away, as we were going home, the little Dalek was all lit up. It was just great. It was great. So I had to send a photo in. While I was out on the
I can see it now. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Tom Baker. It does look a little bit like former Prime Minister Theresa May.
It's shots, and it's kind of difficult to tell which. It's kind of the love child of.
Boris Johnson now voting by the looks of it.
It was a little bit creepy. The Tom Baker, to be honest, is about as creepy in real life as he looks in the photograph.
Oh, they're fabulous pictures, Simon. So yeah, really, head up there. Is this something that's there permanently, or is it just for the couple of weeks, just for the season?
It's just a festival that's on for a couple of weeks. And I said the whole town was just full of them. Everywhere you went, there was these scarecrows. Really great. Good fun.
A good time was had.
Anybody, if you've never been to Flamborough, go to Flamborough. You will not regret it. Just a magnificent. There's a horror of fan rock style lighthouse there on the headland as well. Just a beautiful part of the world.
Never been. I understand you had there was a birthday in the house as well, wasn't there? While you've been away, so we do have to say a happy birthday to your little Lenny there.
We do. Yeah, little Lenny, he was 8 years old on Monday, just gone. Yeah, bless him. Look at that. Look at those eyes. Look at those eyes. We know how popular Lenny is out there in the live chat across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X there. So, no doubt there'll be a few greetings for him in the live chat, maybe a couple for us as well, if we're lucky. So why don't we go and check in with them and find out what they've got to say about all of this nonsense and all this rambling that we've been doing over the last couple of minutes. Let's go. Just got to say, before you start on there, I can see that Woodhouse122 has just commented correctly that Flamborough is near to one of my favourite Yorkshire name places in the world, Wetwang. It's right next to Wetwang, and it's not a million miles, I don't think, from Spittle in the Street.
Spittle in the Street.
Yeah, but Flamborough is indeed near to Wetwang. Couldn't make this stuff up, but it's true. Well done, Woodhouse122. You're correct.
The Ruby's mum jokes are going to be flying over Twitter now, aren't they?
We're well stocked here with comments already, including one for you, Adam. Thank you for stoking the boiler a bit there, mate. Brilliant stuff. Crimpling de Bloom was here too with all his shipmates, and so plenty of the usuals. We have Richard Brooks. Yeah, he's here. Richard, come on, mate. Let's go with the Black Pills. We're supposed to be cheering ourselves up tonight. Doctor Who has not been showing since season 10 ended, all the way back in 1973. My God, the show we loved that's not been around for a long time. Oh, you need to travel back in time. Maybe. We have Michael Q, who, yes, he says, today's the general election, God help us. Well, the Doctor can help us. We can help you. You can help us. We can get through this together, Michael. I'm sure we can. Hello, Wendy. She's out there with an evening all and a bit of a scary face there. That's not Wendy, is it, Charlotte? She's way nicer than that.
She must be getting really early ready for Halloween.
She's just run out of booze back at the ranch there, Wendy. Evening, everyone, says David Jenkins there with his bowler-hatted little dude. I'd like to see that as well. And Woodhouse122, you're quite right, Simon, in right away. There's one from you too. In fact, several from you, John. So thanks for those. Happy Independence Day, of course. It's the 4th of July to our American viewers, cousins, friends out there, including Vanessa Law, who says, hello, I am probably going to have to do an emergency run to the store, but I thought I'd drop by and say hi. Well, I'm sure you probably run there and run back by now, so she's very fast like that, very fast. Woodhouse122 and Tom from T-Dwarf Productions.
Hello,
great news from Tom, Simon. Hi, everyone. I'm getting another pet crab this week. So obviously we've all been mourning the loss of his pet crab. What was the name of the pet crab? Was it Betty? Betty, I thought it was.
Crab, yeah. So apparently, and I did speak to Tom a couple of weeks ago. Hello, Tom. And apparently, when I last spoke to him, he didn't know whether it was going to be a male or a female. So he was toying with names like Polly. He was thinking of calling Polly if it's a female, because of the macra, because of Polly from the macra. Various other names from the macra terror. So good to know that there's another macra crab on the way for Tom.
The tradition continues. Good evening, Who fans everywhere. Hope you're all well. Are you well, Adam?
Yes, I am very well, Dan. Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking, Rob.
Yeah, especially from Rob, I think, to
Rob.
you. Got Darren M in the live chat as well, along with YW, our friend YW. We've got Darren in too. Excellent stuff. Who says, "Evening all, I've elected to join the stream."
Well, hey, see what he did there.
Always rely on Darren. Excellent work. Keep them coming, everybody. We've got to amuse ourselves somehow, haven't we? We've got Side Matt Strikes in too. Matthew Butterfield showing his face as well. Evening, everyone. So says he. Stephen Braddock's around as well. Hi, everyone, says Stephen. And we've got lots of claps and emojis and things that I can never really understand. Never mind. We've got Richard's there too. We've got Mark as well, the guy who I always cock his surname up, so I'm not going to try this time. Hi, Mark. Good to see you. Good to see you. A happy Insurrectionists Day, says Mark. David Mullen is try explaining this memory TARDIS to the average person. I'm not sure I know any average people, John.
No, and to be honest with you, I'm still trying to explain the memory TARDIS to myself, let alone just general people.
Yeah, it sounded reasonable enough when they explained it for those Tales from the TARDIS things, Adam. But the more you think about it, after what we've seen on screen, it's one of those things that they just will into existence. You think, what?
Yeah, I did wonder if I'd missed something on the first watch, and then watched it again and thought, no, actually, it is just, like you said, magicked into existence and magicked out again. Just
all because Ruby got told to remember harder. Really good writing there, Russell.
Maybe if I think hard enough, I'll manifest the numbers to the old lottery on Saturday. I wonder if it works like that. You never know, do you? You never know. Lord Thoth says Simon is always fashionably British.
I don't know whether is that a good or a bad thing. That's
a bloody good thing, mate. Drink it up.
Yeah, I'm buying it then. Thank you, Lord Thoth. I'll have that. Thanks.
Thoroughly excellent. Welcome back, Simon. So Stephen Braddock.
Great to be back, Stephen. Thank you very much.
And we've got Fly Highland in with a question or a comment. Oh, yes, this Tales of the TARDIS was a way last-minute decision. He came up with the idea in September, and it's aired in October, if I remember correctly. That's bang on.
Yeah.
It's bang on.
Yep. It's bang on.
David Mullen says it's like a Sky BSB set from 1993. Instantly, those of us old enough to remember know exactly what he means.
I just thought showing my age there, yeah.
To me, that's just numbers.
Carwin's in as well and suggests it's more a TARDIS storage cupboard that they filmed in. It is. It's curiously strange, isn't it? Matthew Butterfield is having a three-way. Oh, thank God for that. It's all right.
What?
So I nearly had a frigging stroke. Yeah. He says he's having a freeway with me. Wimbledon and the election coverage. Thank God for that, Matthew. You do you. That's all I can say. I'm flattered to be in there somewhere, I think. And we've got lots more of that kind of thing too. Gregory Jones. Gregory, hello. A good evening, Type 40 gang. You've got my vote, Charlotte.
We're loving these. Keep them coming.
Small pleasures. You got to get your small pleasures where you can. Yeah. We're back to Matthew's comment. Squibs says that set, yikes. When did the Doctor become a hoarder? I think the Doctor's probably always been a hoarder, Simon. All those trunks and cases dotted around. He wheels out or lifts up or drops down from various places in various consoles.
Pockets in classic, in bits of classic era, there was everything in those pockets.
We've got hello, Mr. Handbag from Michael Q to you again. Hello there, Adam. It's a nice message, isn't it? And then he boasts here that he's 5'11".
Oh, show off!
There, and he does it again as well. Yeah.
If only we could dream of being 5'11".
That's fighting talk, isn't
it? We are having a short off in the live chat here across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. We've got 4'11" from YW. Anybody shorter than 5'11", Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who. This is.
If you've ever seen the film Anchorman, where all the presenters turn up in the street to have a fight, that's what all the short offs are going to be.
Crimpling Doubloon has been to vote and voted for Christopher Eccleston's Sack Russell T Davis party shot. There wasn't a box for it on the ballot paper, so I've drew one in myself. It's worth a try. I think Chris would approve of that. I think he'd be down for that.
Yeah, I'm voting for that one, definitely.
Yeah. Evening, everyone. Everybody, sorry, this is Adrian James.
Hello, Adrian.
Hi.
Hello.
It's Adrian James. I've got to just say, it's Adrian James's birthday on Monday. So happy birthday to Adrian James for Monday.
Happy birthday. We ought to do that thing where people send in cards like on CBBC, hadn't we? We could sort of that'd be good.
What we could do is, because Lenny could do bounces. You get so many bounces for a birthday, don't you? And we could do Lenny bounces for a birthday.
Stephen Braddock says here, don't know about this series of Doctor Who, but I'm really excited about season 25 coming out on Blu-ray. Of course, this was just announced just before we were getting ready to go live tonight, so we haven't really got time to go deep into this, but obviously we've all been waiting for the next release to be announced for several months. Sat here, you're a big collector, aren't you, Adam? You cover merchandise extensively across your social medias, so personally, I don't care whichever set comes out for next or first or whatever. I don't care about the order. But when did you see this announcement, and how pleased or not are you about season 25 joining the Blu-ray collection set?
Dan, I'm thrilled. Absolutely thrilled that this season is coming out. I love the McCoy era. And I was in Greg's, of all places, this afternoon, munching on a vegan sausage roll. Even though I'm not vegan, they just run out of normal ones. And I just happened to open my phone. Yeah, it was fun. Couldn't tell the difference. Happened to open my phone, and there it was on good old X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And I have never, crumbs were going everywhere, bits of I was never been so quick to pre-order something on my phone. I was like, right, let's get a discount code for HMV. Let's get on the website. And I ordered it right there and then. I had about 15 minutes before my bus was about to leave as well. So I was really
Did you get the discounts? That's the most important thing.
I got the discount, I got the bus, and I got the box set. So I'm thrilled. And you can't see it. I was showing the guys, look.
Let's have a closer look at this, young man. Oh, that's very, very, very snazzy.
I wore that especially, and then realised that no one actually would be able to see it. But there you go.
We've seen it now. Well, we know now you're wearing it. So
it's very impressive, sir.
So yeah, I am very, very thrilled, mate. And I don't want to go down a negative route or be on a downer, but everybody that I know was messaging, have you seen have you seen season 25's coming out?
Yeah.
And so I know that this is good. The pre-orders are going to be amazing for this, but it is in such contrast to a conversation I was having on Sunday, because I was asking, I'm interested in this stuff. It's not me trying to be down on the new series, but I was asking the group of people that I was with at the Riverside event, all the Doctor Who fans, are any of you pre-ordered the series 1? The shoots, anybody getting it? No one, mate. I don't know a single person. I would love to know the comparisons. Just as I said, not to be negative, just out of pure curiosity, because everybody I know in my Doctor Who circle has gone mad over this today, and they're all pre-ordering it. And I do think that speaks volumes for this collection box set and for classic Doctor Who in particular. So couldn't be happier, Dan. Couldn't be happier, mate.
And I've got to say, I think the reason that the pre-orders will go through the roof is because I'm on the season 25 box set.
I thought you might be. I was going to ask you about that.
Well, as far as I'm aware, a little bird tells me, and I can't be certain, and I'll probably end up with egg on my face, and it won't. I know
exactly which little bird that is. Not so little, mate.
And I am reliably informed that the appearance that I made as part of my original Doctor Who group in November 1988, we were on what was it called? Daytime Live. Daytime Live with Judy Spires, and I was on there just being really geeky. I mean, it's so embarrassing. I actually wish it wasn't on the season 25 box set, because it's really embarrassing. But there you go. What can you do?
Well, nice. Simon, I can't wait to see you in upscaled HD. Let me
I tell you what, you're not ready for this, mate. You don't want it.
I just say, excellent work, Richard, and everybody else. This is brilliant. I can't wait to see. How about you, John? Because you're a big McCoy fan too, aren't you? Obviously, this news broke early today.
I'm a massive McCoy fan, and seeing this announced today, it tickled my happy zone.
Did it really?
It did.
Good job you weren't in Greg.
What a frightening thought.
I would have been escorted out. Yeah, it's fantastic, and I'm just looking forward to this. I really am. It's that good. really good stuff. So when, like you were just saying, Adam, with the season 1, that was a disappointment for me, but this just boosts me right back up because this is what I live for. It's just happy times. So get me to October.
Same
classic series gold. The collection very slowly, gradually completes. I think it's 6 years ago this very week that this range started, that season 12, wasn't it, the Tom Baker set, launched the collection on Blu-ray. It doesn't seem that long ago, and yet in some ways it seems so long because we've only really just passed the halfway mark. But obviously let us know there in the live chat and in the comments how excited you are for season 25. We want to know, and we'll be covering it in depth in the next edition of Type 40 Live. Of course we will. We've got several comments like that. A lot of people very, very excited. Very, very excited about this. And we have other people joining us. Yes, Star Hoovian is here. So is Over the Overseer. All these live chats, he says, well, you will knock yourself out. Thistle Beaks is here too. Hello, how is everyone? I think we're pretty well. We're very happy about this box set, Thistle. As you can gather, I'm stoked about it as well. But I love every season of classic Doctor Who. Sincerely, I do. It's fine by me, whichever they release. Cheryl's in as well. Gallifrey Angel C herself. Always a pleasure, Cheryl. Fantastic, and so is Melanie Weston and Eastlyn Burkholder and many, 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 many more. Let's have more comments as well, please. We are your escape from the general election 2024 here at Type 40 Live. Happy to help you do your bit and bring some more comments as well. And yeah, the next few hours it's going to go beautifully, I think, unless
that cursed Doctor is interfering with my plans. But I will destroy the universe. He won't be able to stop me, but you might, if you watch Type 40.
Yes, I say vote Lenny. Simon, vote.
I tell you what, if Lenny was standing for election, I think he'd probably win, and he couldn't do any worse than the people who will win. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
No,
he already owns Lichfield, doesn't he?
He does already own Lichfield. It's true. He certainly runs Lichfield.
Much of the talk in Doctor Who circles in recent weeks has actually circulated around canines of various sizes. So yes, Sutek, one of the scariest villains in the whole of Doctor Who history, is now an outsized dog. That's not. It sounds silly when you say it like that, doesn't it, Charlotte? It's not sinking in anytime soon, I feel, but we are on the other side to the season 1 finale, to all new Doctor Who now, as led by Russell T Davies, of course. So, Adam, the last time we caught up with you, it was only just beginning, really. How did you endure the rest of season 1?
It's hard to believe, actually, that we're already at the other side of it. I still can't quite, but it's gone by with a bit of a blur. But more than that, it's gone by without leaving any impact on me, which is what I find the most disappointing, to be honest with you, because I think it's been a very uneven series and quite disappointing, really. I did, when Russell was announced as coming back, I didn't expect any. I didn't sort of think everything was going to be rosy again. I didn't think it was going to be an immediate fix, but I didn't expect it to be where it is now. And as I said, just chatting to everybody that I know in my sort of Who circle, there does seem to be everybody's on the same page that pretty much everybody feels a bit underwhelmed and deflated by this series. I just thought he would come back with a bit more of a bang. You know, brand new Doctor. Love it. Brand new Doctor, brand new series, you know, a fresh start, for want of a better word. Series 1, all this stuff. And it felt I just can't think of any highlights. That's what bugs me. If I think of other seasons with Russell, if you think of like Utopia with the Master locking, you know, the Doctor out the TARDIS, or 10 running towards Rose and getting shot and starting to regenerate, those were moments that everybody was talking about and couldn't wait for next week. And I just can't think of anything from the season. So it's not to say I hated it. There were bits that I enjoyed and there were episodes I enjoyed, but overall, Dan, I've got to say there's very few highlights for me over the series, and I'm really sad to say that. I was so up for this. I really was quite excited for this season, despite all the stuff surrounding
Yes.
it. I've tried to
The stuff and nonsense,
yeah. I've tried to just push that to one side and just concentrate on the episodes
So did
themselves. Yeah, and it's, as I said, there's been some good stuff in there, but not nearly enough for me to get too excited for it. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that we had every reason to be optimistic going into this, because this is 2024 and there are so many variables and editorial positions, all manner of things that could interfere with this. But I think there were reasons to be optimistic, and obviously now we're on the other side. I think we all feel it smarts a bit, doesn't it, Charlotte? You know, we've been living with it now for a couple of weeks, and it is a bit kind of. Firstly, it's a case of you blinked and you missed it 'cause it was only 7 weeks, and then there's the fact that no cultural impact seems to have been made, which that can't have been on anybody's wish list, can it?
No, I think I agree with what Adam was saying, that even if you didn't think it was all going to be rosy, you thought Russell's now been in the industry for God knows how long. He's got writers that have been doing this for God knows how long. He's got producers which should know sort of the basics that you shouldn't go near, and the decisions that would push your audience away. And in so many instances, they seem to go for the one option that would get the fans angry or get the fans disinterested. And it's just like, what are you playing at? I think that's what a lot of people now have walked away from this first series sort of going, I don't know who Russell is now as a showrunner and as a writer. We thought we knew him in 2005. Now it's like he's a complete and utter.
It's almost like he's been possessed, Charlotte.
It's you don't know what you're going to get. And that's my big thing now for this series too, because they filmed them back to back. We know there's going to be no room for change, so I don't have a clue what he's going to throw at us this series two now.
And I think the other thing that sort of strikes me now that the dust has all settled on that season, and we were talking about this before the series even started, when you know the machinery around it, the rhetoric that was coming out of the Doctor Who camp was quite there was a degree of animosity from the production team,
definitely,
from Shooty himself, from Russell himself. There was an enormous amount of smugness as well, with the feeling that the impression they were giving over was, we can be smug because it's brilliant, it's the best Doctor Who's ever been. We can also be very dismissive of fans that don't want to get on board because we don't give a damn, because there are going to be millions of other people that will want to watch it. And suddenly now, all of that looks very, very hollow and meaningless and pointless. And it actually looks a bit embarrassing to me, on an embarrassing reflection on the production team and on the cast, because suddenly they're caught with their pants down and they've ended up looking a bit stupid. There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Perfect time.
Kind of thing I'm talking about, because so many people did go and touch grass, and people are still using that meme now on Facebook, on social media all the time. Just photos of people touching grass, because that says everything you need to know. I'm out of Doctor Who. And as I say, suddenly it looks very, very hollow and smug, all that rubbish they were coming out with.
And the thing is, they've now blown the first impression phase. They've completely blown sort of people who would have been intrigued, would have been curious, would have been, do you know what, they've said stupid stuff, but I'm going to watch it. I'm going to actually see what the product is. Yeah. And you don't get that second time. You do not get that again. And
once you've put that out in the world, John, I feel that it's impossible to walk it back. Not only does the internet never forget, we all know the internet never forgets, but with things like this that mean so much to so many people, and I know I keep talking about this, I don't mean to discount everybody internationally, I don't, but Doctor Who is so part of the fabric of British culture. It really does get under people's skins, even if they don't necessarily regularly watch it, they consider it to be something that's always welcome in their homes. And so when they hear stuff like that or read stuff like that, it immediately it builds up the reactance. They think, oh no, I won't go near that. You know, when anybody says anything like that, it's mean spirited, I think, John. And people have got longer memories now.
Yeah, totally. And I think, you know, I mirror exactly what Simon said, but I think the general public, I don't think they realise how far those comments had gone into the general public, because it did hit mainstream press as well. And football terminology, it's a massive own goal by them. And when you're talking about season 2, they've now got to spend a lot more money on marketing because they're going to have to, one, try and get back the general viewers who turned off. But they're also going to have to try and get back the Doctor Who fans who they alienated as well. So that's 2 factors that they've got to try and fight before they can even try and make it successful. So it's not looking positive. But the one thing I would say I've learned from season 1, okay, is when the finale was coming up and the season was going along, and I was talking to lots of people, and all of you as well, and I was having these discussions like, oh, well, if it is Sutek, I wonder if they're going to do this, I wonder if they're going to do that. And then I found out it was a giant dog sitting on top of the TARDIS. So I've learned in season 2, don't ever think it's going to be some really talented story idea. Just going to be a dog on a TARDIS.
Let your expectations low. There is an upside to all of this, though, Adam. A lot of people have got rather green-fingered. People are trading gardening tips here in the live chat across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook and X, including Sir Sidney Rough Diamond. He says it's turned him into a regular Monty Don, all thanks to Shooty Gatwell. So there's an upside to everything, Adam.
Yes, there is an upside, but I don't think Shooty is never going to live that down. Like you said, it is out there in the ether, and it will always be used as a stick to beat him with whenever someone wants to use it for not enjoying the program. So he's never going to get away from that. I think what was quite telling for me, Dan, is that even though there was the odd episode that I thought was good in this series, there isn't one single episode that I'm particularly bothered about going back and rewatching, and I think that speaks a lot in terms of my overall enjoyment. So even episodes like Boom, which I thought was a very decent, solid episode of Doctor Who, I'm not bothered about watching it again. You know, there's certain episodes that you sort of gravitate.
You're not compelled to hit play again.
Not at all, mate. And also, this brings me back to the box set that's coming out for this series, which is very expensive. I think the DVD's 50, the Blu-ray's 50, sorry, and I think the Steelbook's
something like that.
Or 70 or something like that. It's between 50 and 70 pounds for this set. Now, I just wonder who is actually going to buy that, because the sort of, even the hardcore fans have been very critical of this series, and I don't know a single person that's going to buy it. Your average punter is not going to go into HMV and see it at that price and buy it. And also, why would you spend 60 or 70 pounds on a box set when you could, which is in standard definition, when you could watch it for free in Ultra HD on your television? So you're paying 50 or 60, 70 pounds for an inferior quality version of a program that wasn't that good that you can watch for free on your TV. So I am absolutely baffled by who is going to be buying the season 1 box set. I can only think it's going to be hardcore fans who, like myself, are a bit completist.
Yeah, if we completist, you're right, John.
Yeah, right, Adam. I will probably get the Steelbook because I am a collector and I want that Steelbook in my collection. Will I be opening it or watching any of the episodes? No. If I want to watch any of them, I'll put them on the iPlayer because they're in HD.
What's in the Steelbook though, Adam? Are they giving anything? Like, are they giving you like
no, John,
cards or anything like that in the box set?
No, mate. It's just that as I said, I'm a sort of fool to myself, really, and I'll openly admit it. I've got all the Doctor Who Steelbooks. I collect them. You know, there are certain things that I always buy. I'm a big Prince fan. I'll buy every album that he releases, whether it's good or not, because Prince, Doctor Who, Blake Seven, they're my big threes. I'll always want to get whatever gets released. But, you know, even I have a limit. But I think there's only so many of me out there that will actually hand over cash for this sort of thing. And yeah, you're buying it just for the artwork and the fact that with the Steelbook in particular, it will be limited. The ones from previous series have disappeared pretty quick, and then they go for really silly money on eBay. So it's that thing of not wanting to.
It's a sort of speculator's market, strangely enough, isn't it? The Steelbooks in particular is very, very odd. Very odd how it is.
That's another thing which we'll get to with the whole spin-off stuff with the news that's circling now. Who's going to watch the spin-off if they didn't like the main show? That's the other thing that they need. This time round, the main show has to support a lot more around it. It's not just that. They have to do this Whoniverse. They have to do spin-offs, what they want to do, clearly. So if you kill the goodwill with your main show, you're going to really have to have a brilliant spin-off idea to get people to commit to watch the spin-off.
Well, let's take a look at where the lay of the land has been since we last looked at the way it's all been received and how many people watch this. Because, we're on the other side of the finale and we have the final set of traditional metrics. So the consolidated 7-day figures are now out for everything, those final 2 episodes. So let's take a look. So there's how it was originally in the first 6 weeks. Generally, it was a similar pattern with a little variation, wasn't it, Simon? Not much variation, but a little between those overnights and the consolidateds. But since then, the Legend of Ruby Sunday premiered with the lowest ever figure at just 2.02 million. That did go up again to 3.5 million. So that's a decent amount of people. I think there might have been a bit of word of mouth with that. But the season finale, even though it did go up and you want your episodes to go up for the actual finale, it's a very small increase. And again, a very small increase on that consolidated figure. This, if you were to look at it as in lines going up and down, this wouldn't be the end of the world. But we're still looking at 2s and 3s. Nothing has broken that 4 million number, even on the overnights, apart from that very first episode of the double bills. This is really shoddy reading, isn't it, Simon? It's not looking very healthy.
It's looking very, very unhealthy. And I think the most interesting thing, now that we can see these figures, I honestly believe that any viewing figure that the show receives actually, in this day and age, actually is a reflection of how well the previous week's episode was received. Because I think it's very much a case of if people like the sound of that episode, they'll give the current one a go that's on this week. And so I think, to me, the most interesting thing out of all of these figures is the way it leaps up reasonably well after Boom, which, although I didn't like it at all, it does seem to have been received relatively well. But then look at what happens then after 73 yards for Dot and Bubble. That's the biggest drop. The drop after 73 yards is the biggest drop, or it's one of the biggest drops. No, actually, I'm just looking at it through. I think it is the biggest drop there. So that just goes to show 73 yards really did not hit the mark. And that was Davis's most self-indulgent episode. That was the one that he was bleating on about how he'd been wanting to do this episode for years, and it was the scariest monster you could ever possibly imagine, and you wouldn't believe the monster that we've got in 73 yards. And as I say, it's clear because it takes such a plunge after 73 yards, and it never recovers. It never recovers. So Boo was undoubtedly the most popular episode. Although it's not got the biggest viewing figures, I think it's undoubtedly the most popular episode of the series. And Davis's stuff clearly just hasn't hit pay dirt. Simple as that.
In that same vein, if you're talking about drops, look at, so Rogue got consolidated 3.52. Legend of Ruby Sunday literally only just about got 2 million on the overnights.
Yeah.
That's how much damage Rogue did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, Rogue didn't work for the public. It just didn't work.
Following the fortunes of the show on the ratings, Adam, it's a bit of, it's literally up and down, isn't it? But you feel like opening your mouth on this subject publicly, there's always going to be someone that shoots you down. There's a crowd of people who insist that overnights, in fact, there's a crowd of people who insist that ratings of any kind don't really matter anymore. I mean, my answer to that would be, why would they spend millions compiling these things if they weren't of any use and they didn't matter? You just think about it like that. That doesn't make any logical sense. And then there's another crowd of people who perhaps go too far in the other direction, and that the sky has literally fallen and there is absolutely no hope. So it tends to be, it's a very tribalistic. We are divided along tribal lines. More to the point, we're divided along tribal lines. And because it's been a very charged few months, this has been a proper battleground, hasn't it? Just the ratings topic, never mind the episodes.
Yeah, and I mean, people will say the ratings matter when they're good, but when they're not, they don't matter. So, I mean, which is it? I think the problem is they serve a purpose, is what it is. They do matter because they serve a purpose in giving us an indication of how many people are tuning in. But what does give a better indication in terms of the quality of the show, because that's you could say the ratings don't matter in terms of, well, okay, forget the ratings. Is the show quality? Should it be getting more viewers? Is it a quality product? No, it isn't. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether the ratings are at 2 million or 12 million. It could, is it good? No, it isn't. But what I was going to say is the indication as well for the quality of the show is normally judged not so much by the ratings, but the AI figure, which has been withheld.
Still missing.
Where
are the AI figures?
It's unprecedented, Adam, that we haven't had any of them. All 8 are MIA, aren't they?
So that to me speaks volumes, because you've got your viewing figures there to go by, but I think the AI figures are as important, if not more important. If
I've always believed in the last few years they're probably more important, because it's undoubtedly true that the way we watch television has changed. Yes, it has. That's demonstrably true. But there are still ways, perfectly reasonable, freely available metrics that are published whereby we can see. And as you say, okay, if you think, okay, don't put all your eggs in that basket, contrast them with this, and then you put those two figures together and you can form a reflective view of where the general public are, because it's not just fans, the general public are with this brand. Simon, you've worked in the industry, you've worked with ratings. What do you think about this? Is it just a massive shit show, or is it sort of somewhere in the middle?
No, I genuinely think it is a massive shit show. I really do believe that. I've heard so many times the defence, and the more you hear it, and particularly from things like the Radio Times and the production team themselves, the more you hear it, the more desperate and silly it begins to sound. They need to just stop talking about the ratings. It's as simple as that. There's no point trying to justify them. So, I'm in zero doubt that behind the scenes, everybody is acknowledging that this has not worked. It hasn't hit pay dirt. And the reason for that is you could just about let the low figures off if there was at least an upward trend through the season that showed that some people were coming to it. However much it might not have been hitting, massive viewing figures, at least if there was an upward trend, you would know that it's working. But it's not an upward trend. Look at it. It's a generally downward trend. It hasn't fallen off a cliff, but that's simply because it started pretty much towards the bottom of the cliff to begin with. So it didn't have very far to go. So it started with the hardcore fans, the ones that weren't touching grass and hadn't taken the advice given them. And it ended with the hardcore fans. It's as simple as that. Whereas, as I've said before now, if you think back to series 1 of the first series 1 of the Chris Eccleston series, that one, by episode 3, the whole of the UK was talking about Doctor Who. By episode 3, I can remember this because by this point, the papers were just full of the Unquiet Dead. It was the show of the week for everybody. Everybody was raving about it. And so, although at that point they weren't hitting sky-high figures, but the word was out that it was doing well and it was a cracking show that you needed to watch, and so the trend was upwards. So there's no getting away from these figures. It's a shit show. It's unavoidable.
Matthew Pound in the live chat here says subsequent season ratings go down, not up. Not necessarily. I mean, the ratings on New Who did go up during the Russell T Davies era. More people watched series 2 than 1. Even more people watched series 3. It's a matter of whether they address the problems at hand, the issues that the viewing public have with it, or maybe something to do with scheduling. I'm talking about average TV shows here, not just Doctor Who, but that's the way they will look at it. What can we change? What can we alter to hopefully create more of an appetite and to change the public's perception of that show, where they screen it in the year? All manner of things, isn't it, Simon? That's not a hard and fast rule.
Yes, absolutely. But Matthew Pounder is correct to an extent. So good point, Matthew. You are right to an extent that ratings do generally dip, but they generally dip in the middle of the season and then they start to go back up at the end of the season. And so again, that's not what you're seeing here. Okay, they've gone up literally by that much at the end of the season. Were you going to say something? Sorry, Charlotte.
I was going to say the fact that the finale couldn't get 4 million on your consolidated.
It's a major
the finale couldn't get 4 million.
thing. Yeah.
It's just
There's
like
there's no way he will have wanted that. As showrunner Russell T Davies, whilst he's admitted that the series isn't doing well in the ratings, I mean that's a major thing to admit that publicly. He has made additional claims it's become the BBC's biggest drama of the year for younger viewers, based on demographics. Quite how they define younger viewers now, I'm not entirely sure. We've got a statement from the BBC as well. They gave a statement to the Times, and they said, there we go, overnight ratings no longer provide an accurate picture of all those who watch drama in an on-demand world. Well, nobody said that they do. This season of Doctor Who premiered on iPlayer nearly 24 hours before broadcast, and that was your choice, BBC. And episode 1 has already been viewed by nearly 6 million viewers and continues to go. That's fair enough. 6 million is a healthier figure, but obviously that's in 7-8 weeks. So I can see what they're saying, but this isn't an answer to the perfectly reasonable criticisms that have been levelled at this show, the way it's been run and the way that it's produced. They go on to claim Doctor Who remains one of the world's most watched programmes on iPlayer and is the BBC's top drama for under 35s this year, making it one of the biggest programmes for that demographic across all streamers and broadcasters. I find that claim harder to believe.
Do we know where are they getting that statistic from? How do we know? How do they know that it's the most popular show with under 35?
Well, the BBC still think it's 1993, so they believe that we're supposed to just take it at their word. You see, whereas we can actually go and check this in time when available figures become published.
The only thing that I can say that of where RTD's coming from is he's saying it's been successful with younger viewers. The only way he can make his metrics work, I think, is basically he's classing kids that haven't been born yet in his figures, because certainly people around my area, their kids are not watching it. At work, neighbours with kids, they didn't even know it was on. If I'm being totally honest here, it's a shame. But I go back to our conversation we had on Type 40. Right before the series started, when all the marketing rubbish was going on, and the words I said was pride comes before a fall. And they were goading a lot of people before it had even started. And I think, okay, if you do that after it's been a success, we won't like it, but we'll say, okay, you've made a success of it. But they were doing it before we even got to see the first episode, and look what's happened.
Yeah,
I don't know what they do for season 2 because it's filmed. I know they can do reshoots and re-edits.
Yeah, we talked about this on the last edition, didn't we? That something will be done. Talks, Simon, in your opinion, because we haven't spoken about this. The last time you were on was the reaction show to Empire of Death, wasn't it? Do you believe that talks they will be having serious talks about this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely zero doubt again, because what we've got to remember is we have to divorce ourselves from the fact that we are fans. And so we look at it very, very differently to how the industry looks at it. And that is the BBC Studios, Bad Wolf, Disney, all 4 of them will be looking at this clearly very, very differently to how we are looking at this, because they cannot afford for this to fail. The BBC of all people can't afford for it to fail, because suddenly, as I've said before, they're in a sticky situation, because if they continue to make and broadcast a show that is doing so poorly in the ratings, and as Adam says, probably has got very poor AI figures as well, it calls into question the license fee, and the BBC cannot afford to have those kind of difficult questions asked of them at the moment as to why they're justifying making a show that's doing so badly. So yes, I'm in no doubt at all there'll be some very, very difficult and awkward conversations going on behind closed doors at the moment. Let's be clear about this. It's quite obvious that the BBC are not going to want to repeat this for Series 2. They want a very different outcome for Series 2, and they're going to be trying to find it.
Star Whovian is in the live chat. Hello there with a fabulous picture of Peter Capaldi. And he says, my family all knew about the 60th anniversary specials because of David Tennant, but as soon as they watched the Christmas special, they were out in big letters and a crying laughing face emoji. People will seemingly continue to turn up for David Tennant and Catherine Tate. But anything else, anyone else, or certainly anyone else they've employed in the role so far, Adam, it's just not working. It's just not gelling for whatever reason. One would hope that the previous incumbent of the title role, that didn't work, that didn't gel, and they left her to flail around for the best part of 3.5 to 4 years. One would hope they're not going to do the same with Ncuti Gatwa, even if they publicly state a complete endorsement and pride in what he's doing. You would surely that somebody's going to work with him and say, okay, how can we work on this, develop this characterization, and just iron out some of these rough spots. Just we talked a little about season 25 earlier on. They did that with McCoy back in '88. Sylvester was more aware of it than anybody else. They took it on the chin. And they worked hard to turn it around, didn't they? Do you think that that's possible with Ncuti for if not for season 2, then for season 3?
I don't think Ncuti is the problem. I think in terms of them addressing problems with the show, I think the struggle.
The public don't seem to be feeling him though, do they?
Yeah, I guess in that sense, I agree with you. But what I was going to say is I think RTD is the big stepping stone and the struggle that the BBC are going to have in convincing him not to, because we have seen that his ego has gone massively out of control. I used to really, really respect Russell. I think he's done some fantastic stuff in the past, and I won't take that away from him. He's done some fantastic work. But what the Russell that we have seen in the interviews since he came back, I can't watch them. And I know quite a few people feel like this. As soon as he opens his mouth, I'm like, no, I just don't want to hear what's coming out of that man's mouth these days, because he just annoys me and it infects my enjoyment of the show. So I think, okay, I get what you're saying, Dan. Maybe Ncuti's Doctor hasn't grabbed the audience attention as well as he could have. I think he could absolutely do that. I do see the potential in him to do it personally.
So do I.
But I think the bigger obstacle is Russell himself, if I'm honest. Series 2's already filmed. We've got a huge gap now between now and Christmas to the next episode. How on earth are they going to rebuild the fan base that they have helped to destroy? And how on earth are they going to keep the momentum going to keep any sort of enthusiasm for the show alive? I don't know how they're going to do it, Dan. I genuinely don't know how they can.
This is the last chance, isn't it?
I think one thing they will do is this new companion. I think we're going to see a lot of her. They're going to market her a lot because she's not done any press so far, and it would make sense. She's only really just started to be announced and properly seen as the new companion. So I won't be surprised if actually she takes a real step to be a big part of the marketing here, because she hasn't got she hasn't got the baggage that Ncuti's got now. She hasn't got all that sort of annoying fans saying those comments. And if she,
I'm worried that within 2 minutes, that's exactly what's going to happen. I can just see it happening all over again. Sorry to interrupt you, Charlotte. I just can just see it happening all over again.
Well, yeah, but I don't know about that, because we've said this. You could see in Ncuti, all at once, he started having a different tune. He started to be a lot more, I love the fans. Like, you could see it in the interviews. He was taking a very different tact.
Yeah, true.
So I don't think they'll repeat that. And I think she'll be the forefront, this new companion. And I wouldn't be surprised if actually Russell gets told, you need to actually take a backseat in interviews and have Julie. She's hardly done any press, Julie.
No, I haven't seen a single word apart from the very early soundbite. Looking back, it was just a soundbite saying we want everybody to watch this, John. Apart from that, she's been as quiet as a mouse.
So put her out more, wheel her out, because she clearly knows what to say to the fans.
She's professional.
Clearly is more professional than Russell at this point. There's a lot of people, and I think when it comes, we forget Russell is a big part of this. There's no denying that, and I agree with Adam. A lot of the issues are the writing with Ncuti's Doctor. I think he could tune it a bit. He could work on it, but it's how he's written at the end of the day. That's what's going to really work or not. But I think Russell is that issue and the writing's an issue. But I think there's a lot of other players here which we've forgotten about because Russell's such a big personality. Yeah. There's Julie, there's Phil Collinson, there's Jane Tranter. A lot of people who could actually step forward now and sort of take the reins back a little bit off Russell and say, no, you've done a pig's ear of this. We're going to do the talking now.
Yeah. That's a really good point. That's a really good point, Charlotte.
Yeah,
I hadn't even thought of it like that.
Do you know what I would also say that is different from the RTD1 era to now? That you need a trailer when it comes back of, like we used to get with, it's just a reel of monsters.
Yes, villains.
Yeah, and villains and interesting monsters and villains. You didn't get any of that in this. I think you had one of the cosplayers. Obviously, they were hiding Sutek, and then that was pretty much it, wasn't it? Really. And again, if you're talking about you want a show, you want to entice kids in to watch, you want to give them something of a scare to get them interested to sit down and watch it. You know, not absolutely terrifying, but enough to get them to take a curious look at it. And they haven't done that. They need to do that.
And I think the other problem that we've got here is that because Series 2, and this was a catastrophic decision on their part to make Series 2 pretty much back to back with Series 1, because there is so little they can do that unless they do go back and do reshoots, which, as you say, Dan, we have sort of talked about before. Without that really was a disastrous decision because it was, again, in all honesty, it was a degree of arrogance on their part that they thought they got it right with Series 1. I think what could have gone on here is that I agree with Adam and Charlotte. RTD's ego is so massive it cannot be pricked. And it is out of control. Russell's ego is going to end up with its own postcode. It's that enormous, and so out of control. Now, what might have happened though is that everybody behind the scenes might have actually said to him, "Do you know what? Actually, Russell, you have screwed up on this. You got it wrong." They're obviously going to say it very, very delicately because he's not a man that I would want to pick a fight with. And so I think they will have told him delicately, "You got this one wrong. We're going to have to watch this a lot closer." So I think that they will be reining him in, but that cannot start now until Series 3. And by then, I genuinely wonder if it's simply too little too late. I really do think it's his ego that has ruined this show. It's run rampant over it. It's literally at this moment in time apparently unstoppable, unless, as I say, it has been stopped behind the scenes, and they are having a word in his shell like and saying, "You've got to pull back from this. We need to be approving scripts."
Happily, there are people in the live chat here on YouTube in particular who are full of ideas about it, how to turn it around, some of them more drastic than others, and people steaming in with a diagnosis too, like Ashvin, who says, "I think he's just rushing his scripts, looking for the easy way out and nonsense endings." We've got Well Said Charlotte. We've got several Well Said Charlottes, including from Star Hoovian, and there was another couple of those. I've just flashed them up. Where are they? I'll find them again somewhere, but they were here. We've got a comment here from Matthew Pounder who says the first non-white TARDIS crew won't go down well in the UK. I don't see why not.
It depends if they bang on about that.
The UK,
if they
British
bang
viewers
on about that in the interviews, it will go down like a lead balloon.
Yeah, people, it will grate on people.
But on surface value, British people don't mind, or an all cast of non-white people. I do disagree with that on principle. But I think what you're right, Charlotte. I think if they make a big deal out of it and put it up the bunting, to me it's just an actor and an actress. But as you say, if they lean into that and make a song and dance about it, that could push people away. Because how many? There's loads of shows where there was no white actors in the lead cast, stretching back to the 90s, even in the 80s. So I don't think the British people care.
They banged on about Rose as a character, and what have we seen of her? She was a plot device in the specials, and she stood there on an iPad for the
Come on,
finale.
Charlotte.
Like that
Come
was a
on.
contribution.
She was very good on Candy Crush. Come on now.
Marjorie Duedoni says, I don't think there should be a Series 3 of Doctor Who. Series 3 has been commissioned, as we exclusively told you here at Type 40 Live a couple of weeks ago now. Don't expect any official confirmation of that, though, until December at the earliest. Whilst we've been gassing on about all this, the results of the general election in the UK for 2024, they'll be coming in. Of course they will. There'll be lots of angry and tearful MPs and members of the public up and down the country, I've no doubt. At least Doctor Who largely leaves what I term party politics behind, doesn't it? So when there are MPs and PMs on screen, they're never attached to actual parties, have they, when they've been featured? I can't think of any exceptions, at any rate. I mean, the most popular one was probably Harriet Jones, because we saw her as an MP, didn't we, struggling up as a backbencher there when the Doctor comes in and rocks her world and rocks Downing Street there in that two-parter from Series 1 all the way back in 2005. A much-loved character who becomes Prime Minister, doesn't she, by the time we next see her in the Christmas Invasion. To me, this is the kind of character that we just don't get on the show anymore. Somebody I don't think we spend necessarily any more time with her than we did other supporting characters there, Simon, but she was so beautifully written, sensitively written, and beautifully played that the general public, even the kids, sort of took her to their hearts so much. A Prime Minister of all things, she was so popular, she even got her own Battles in Time card here. So did you ever see this?
Look at that. I think the difference here is there's such a different atmosphere in those first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of the show to what there is now. That there is just this smugness, this self-satisfaction. This we don't even have to try anymore because we can make this stuff in our sleep so much better than anybody else can. And it's a horrible atmosphere about the show. Whereas back in those days of Harriet Jones, it was just nice. It was just enjoyable to watch. It was easy to watch. It was funny. You wanted to spend time with these people. There was pretty much nobody in these last 8 episodes that I wanted to spend any time with at all. Not one of them. None of them.
And I bet they haven't got the fear factor score there that Harriet Jones had, Adam. 5,300, their fear factor out of 480. Intelligence, very, very high. That's the highest intelligence, but a lot of agility for a woman in her early 60s.
Yeah. Oh, what is it? I can't read it, but
4,200. 4,200 there on the agility.
Not bad going, is it? No.
So if she had to dive out of that window behind her, she probably could and make
mind out for that Christmas tree.
Yeah, make a good landing. I miss Harriet Jones. I miss all of that. I miss the spirits of old style Doctor Who.
We should do cards for us. Shouldn't we, really?
Can you imagine?
I'd get 1 on every single one.
Yeah, but what would be the categories? That'd be the fun bit. What would be the actual?
Yeah. Agility -40.
Sadly, I have it on good authority. It's too late to vote Malcolm Tucker. I think he's retired. He went off flying around time and space, I believe. But we've got the memories, and we've got the memories at least. There he is taking a call from whoever, about to let fly with some expletives, no doubt. Yes, this is Type 40 Live, where we talk about the entire Whoniverse, both on and off screen, the past, the present, and the future. And we do it all over a virtual mug of something hot or cold, depending on what time of year it is, and with something nice to nibble on, even if we're not chewing on one another. And you people out there in the live chat across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, thank you for the comments so far. What a fabulous show. If you'd like to get some more of this, you can do just that. Get us in your ears at our home feed at type40.podbean.com. You can catch up with the Type 40 podcast. We're just dropping episode 150 of that. That's our review of Space Babies, the season opener for 2024's run of all new Doctor Who. You can find out what myself, Charlotte, and Simon, what did we score it out of 5, and whether we agreed on anything on that one. I think it was one of our best ever reviews, guys. People really do. I think people have enjoyed that. The fact that we didn't see eye to eye at all. So you can hear that, or you can see the video edition. Of course, you can hear on the Type 40 YouTube channel. Oof. Yeah, let's have a quick moment, shall we, to get our thoughts together and move on in a timely fashion. There's lots more to get into here at Type 40 Live. The good, the bad, and of course, plenty of the ugly as usual. Okay, let's have some of this.
The universe is collapsing. The only way to save it is to watch Type 40.
He's got brilliant eyes, that bloke. Brilliant eyes. Scary.
I do find him mesmerising. I'm not sure it's in the way that he intends it to be, but mesmerising nonetheless. It definitely works, shall we say? Definitely works. And he was a nice fella as well, wasn't he? Yeah. Of course, with Doctor Who now. With Doctor Who now back in production, in regular production, made by Bad Wolf for BBC Studios, and debuting in that new model, the streaming first model across the iPlayer and on Disney Plus internationally, quite a lot has changed in a short period of time. I don't know if everybody's got used to it yet, but everything is in place. The long-term intention has been to expand this IP once again, all under the Whoniverse branding there, which was unveiled last autumn. As yet, though, only those Tales of the TARDIS episodes, only those have contained any new scripted drama elements. There's been 7 episodes of that so far, and they're just sort of topped and tailed. Nice enough stuff, but not anything you can really get your teeth sank into. It can't be argued the last couple of months hasn't played out to the satisfaction of either the fans or the makers of Doctor Who. We've just been over that. But what interest is there truly left outside of the fandom in further series under that Whoniverse brand in there, that moniker? I suppose there's only one way to find out, and that's to test it, isn't it? So late last year, these rumours began to surface. They were first appearing in the Mirror, which can be quite dependable for Doctor Who stories we've found. But they were adamant that a spin-off from Doctor Who was in pre-production, the first of several intended spin-offs. The intention's been there from the outside, hasn't it? Russell T Davies has spoken about it at length. It was reported that they intended on filming the first spin-off in spring just gone. We got a working title and a general premise, but it didn't come to pass at all. Now we can confirm it is back on and slated to begin filming later this year. There's been further speculation, though, that it won't just feature a returning classic series monster, but it's going to star yet another of the Doctor's former companions. Martha Jones is believed to be the lead character of The War Between the Land and the Sea. Martha will again be played by Freema Agyeman, the 45-year-old British actress who played Martha Jones on the series between 2007 and 2010, wasn't it? In the 14 years since, she starred in several high-profile drama series, both here and on the other side of the Atlantic. Some of them I've seen, John, some of them I haven't. But generally speaking, Freema is somebody I'm always pleased to see her turn up in everything, not only because she's drop-dead gorgeous, but she's just got so much charisma. And I like to see people out of Doctor Who doing good things and moving on in their career. Yeah, it's nice to see them turn up in domestic stuff, but when you see them in movies and big American shows, you think, yes, go on. You're proud of the show and you're proud of them. Is that ridiculously optimistic? Is that how you feel?
No, I always think the same, and I always do a little bit of a geeky. She was in Doctor Who, and I run and tell a family member, and they go, "Don't care what you're talking about. We're trying to watch TV. Will you go out, please?" It's great.
I do that too. I think it irritates the hell out of people. Do you do that as well, Charlotte?
No, to be fair, sometimes my parents would be like, "Were they in Doctor Who?" And I'm like, "Yes." Like, that's what happens more than anything.
And did they pronounce it as Doctor Who as well, as if it's all one word?
That's how my dad, was he in Doctor Who? Yeah.
Yes, Freema was absolutely in Doctor Who, made a big impact, even though she was only a regular for a full season, first appearing in Smith & Jones by Russell T Davies all the way back in 2007, and carried on all the way through to the end of Russell's run, sort of popping up here and there. A character that was slightly curtailed for one reason or another. I think Russell kind of felt that he wrote her into a corner, but he tried to bring her back whenever he could. And I think the fact that he never tried to unnaturally extend the lifespan of the character, Adam, I think that's one of the reasons why he had a canny grip then on the things that the viewing public would accept and the things that they wouldn't. And even though it was a character that he'd created and an actress he obviously had a lot of time for, the integrity and the realism of the show, even a show like Doctor Who, was really important to them back then. So he felt, okay, her story might be told, let's use her sparingly. If anything, I think they sort of used her a little too sparingly. And as such, people don't talk about it the way that they talk about Donna or Rose, do they?
No, that's true. I do. I've always said I think she's an underrated companion, but I think what I mean by that is exactly what you've just said, that she doesn't get talked about as much as I think she should, because I really liked Freema in Doctor Who. I really liked Martha Jones as a character.
So did I.
I think she worked well in that one series, and I know a lot of people didn't like the unrequited love storyline, and I do understand that. But I loved that scene in the very last episode where she said about her friend getting out, because I think we can all relate to that when we've liked someone.
Absolutely.
We just keep telling ourselves that, if I keep going, they'll fancy me back, and they never do. And she's basically saying, I've realized that there's no point going on with this because it's never going to happen. And I liked that end scene, so I didn't have a problem with it. But yeah, I don't know if she's strong enough to carry a spin-off. I will be honest. Although I absolutely love Martha as a character, I think Freema's great. I'm thinking about when was it Last of the Time? What's the episode where she sort of pretty much carries the episode, where she goes after the Askerhagen key or whatever it's called? I mean, she's good in it, but I don't know.
Yes.
She's strong enough to carry the whole series? I'm not sure. But then again, Dan, wasn't she supposed to be in Torchwood? Wasn't she supposed to be?
She was in Torchwood a couple of episodes.
She wasn't. Yeah, she was in
to be a
Torchwood.
main character, but she turned it down to do Law and Order, didn't she? I think she was supposed to be like a regular in Torchwood.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So she was in it, obviously. But I think if you Google it or look it up, because I remember there was a bit of a thing at the time saying that Russell was peed off because she kind of let him know last minute that she changed her mind and she was going to do Law and Order and bugger off to ITV. But yeah, so that would have been interesting to see how she worked in Torchwood, because I think she would have been really good in that. So I don't know, maybe she.
I didn't know that, and I liked Torchwood, but I'm starting to think that might be a bit of a blessing in disguise, really. But yes, so that's the new bit of information that's come out this week about this. But the story about this particular spin-off has been circulating for quite some time, and I think the game well and truly is up now, because the producer has published it on her online CV. Carolyn Parry Jones, the line producer, has it listed there on her CV, which is good. Anybody can Google this. So it's The War Between the Land and the Sea, which is 5 one-hour episodes of fantasy drama produced by Bad Wolf. We've got the director there is Dylan Holmes Williams, and we've got a producer, Eduardo Ferretti, attached there. And funnily enough, it was Dylan Holmes Williams that was over on Instagram recently posting about a recce that they'd been on to visit some coastal caves. And they're the same coastal caves, the exact same location that was used on the collection box set thing with Joe Grant last year with the baby sea devil. Do you remember that, Simon? So they were there.
Season 9. It's season 9. Yeah.
So you think about that location, all of the pieces are starting to drop into place, and we do have a little bit of information about what this will consist of, and the format and the kind of the pitch, if you like, in these bullet points. So yes, Martha Jones will apparently lead this series. It's going to excite some more than others. It excites me. The setting is present day in a rural English town, presumably on the coast. The unit team will be involved. The unit, not saying which unit team, but you would think it's the current unit team, but maybe they'll expand that. Maybe they'll expand that a little. I don't know.
Got to leave the building.
The caution has been that the title, The War Between the Land and the Sea, may not necessarily be literal. So the war, it might not necessarily be an all-action series in the way that we think, but it has been speculated here that the Sea Devils will appear in this series, in this 5-part series there that is supposed to start filming later in the year. Sea Devils, Simon, Obviously, they cocked up the Sea Devils a couple of years ago. They were that bloody awful Jodie Whittaker special, The Legend of the Sea Devils. The costumes have probably gone into storage. They were pretty decent as a redesign. It's not the end of the world. Could this redeem the Sea Devils? And more to the point, do you think this is a strong idea to test the ground, to expand the Whoniverse? What are you thinking about these bullet points here, what we know about it so far?
God, I just really don't know. This is a tough call because, as Charlotte said earlier on, and as we've said many times before on this show, for a spin-off to work, the parent show has got to be loved by so many people, because the only people that will be watching this will be people that have watched the parent show. It's almost inconceivable that people will be watching this if you're not watching Doctor Who. So the actual numbers of people that are watching it.
To be honest, though, Simon, people with Torchwood. But with Torchwood, though, they did manage to get an audience of people who weren't necessarily Doctor Who viewers watching that, didn't they?
You are correct. I think the difference with Torchwood was it was very much its own beast, whereas this is using Sea Devils from the 1970s/80s, because nobody saw Legend of the Sea Devils. And it's using Martha Jones, which again is a very old character from Doctor Who. So I don't know whether and the unit team. I mean, the problem with the unit team is nobody has fallen in love with unit. When you think how much love there was for unit in the 70s, and nobody gives two tosses about unit these days. It's never been used properly, even when Russell T Davies brought it back. Right back in when did it come back? Was it in Martha Jones series? Was that when? No, it was in the next one, wasn't
Eccleston. It was
Series
mentioned.
one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but it was kind of a throwaway, wasn't it? It fully came back in the Sontaran story, didn't it?
Christmas special, wasn't it? Christmas.
Yeah, so that sort of, but that was so throwaway. I mean, it sort of came back and it's fully in its own in that Sontaran two-parter. But it didn't really feel like it stuck then, and it's never stuck since. They've never. I think the problem with Unit is they've never stuck with it enough to make these characters any characters that we actually care about. And so it's a gamble, I think, to rest a series on Unit, because again, it's almost a degree of smugness, of arrogance, that they just assume that everybody loves Unit, but not even fans like modern Unit. I certainly don't. I hate modern Unit. Hate it.
It's been. I remember when Stephen Moffat was running the show, everybody assumed that it was nailed on, John, that there'd be a spin-off for the Paternoster gang. They seemed to be set up for it very deliberately, so they kept going back to the characters. And the talk around the current Unit team has been largely like that. It never happened for the Paternosters. I don't think it will necessarily happen for the Unit team either, but they could be a convenient support for something and someone else. Because this doesn't look like an actual Unit show, but obviously...
It's a strange one. I agree with kind of Simon what he's saying about who is going to watch it. But firstly, the title. I think you were saying there that they're gonna change it potentially. Is that right? Or is that?
Yeah, I have heard more things about this. Yeah, we'll come to that in a little while. But yeah, apparently it's a working title. It may stick. It may not.
Because at the moment, that one, to be honest, it sounds a bit like a BBC, BBC Science sort of documentary type.
And it's a bit of a mouthful. It really is.
Yeah. But I just, what I love about Unit, and I just want them to bring it back. Just give them an old manor house or something like that, and have old science labs and all of that. And then I'll be in for the series. Don't care about anything else.
Imagine, John, some rambling, crumbling house on a hillside in a coastal town where nothing works properly. They can't get the broadband. There's bits of old shit, like in the Stone Tape. Have it like that. And meanwhile, there's some pressing alien force or something from beneath the waves, Adam. And these four characters have got to band together. So if they're using Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, potentially, and Shirley Ann Bingham, she's speculated as being involved. Obviously, Unit's main scientific advisor at present. Melanie Bush, we all love Melanie Bush. She's brilliant. The secret weapon of season 1, the best thing about it, and potentially led by by Martha Jones, a heroic character that a lot of people can relate to. Could this be a formidable team, Adam? Are you sold on either their pitch or ours there for this sort of cliff top, very British sci-fi blend of spooks and thrills? Where do you think this could go? Are you interested in this at all?
Actually, no, I am a little bit. I am actually more sold on your take. I love the old idea of UNIT going back to being in like an old country house, and it would have to have one of those machines with the big two tape reels behind
that
them.
Goes whoa, 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 whoa.
That would be fabulous. But no, actually, do you know what? I mean, if you had Bonnie in there, I think I do like Bonnie Langford. I'd like to see her get something as well. But also, the Legends of the Sea Devils left such a bad taste in mine and many people's mouths. I love the Sea Devils, the original story with John Pertwee, but Legends of the Sea Devils was an abomination. It was absolutely so bad that I would like to see them come back and get another shot at doing the Sea Devils, and hopefully doing them some justice, just to erase the awful memory of their last appearance. So, like you said, the design of them was actually the one good thing about them. I thought they didn't tinker with them too much. They looked really good, I thought. So I am kind of up for this, mate. The big question in the back of my mind the whole time we've been talking about it is who's writing it. Is it Russell?
That's the one thing we don't know. We've got a director, we've got producers. We have no idea who's writing. Who's writing this? Obviously, the Sea Devils. Oh, hang on. No, the Sea Devils. The Sea Devils. Yes, so the Sea Devils. Perennial. I don't know what.
I always forget about the Warriors of the Deep one.
I love the Warriors of the Deep Sea Devils.
Yeah, their little what is that little ice cream thing that they've got there? Whatever.
Yeah.
Not the most storied monsters in the history of Doctor Who, are they? Their appearances have been fleeting, and you can. Yeah, I love Warriors of the Deep, but it's pretty much accepted that only one of these three stories has been worth anything at all. Could something really strong redeem them? I don't. Perhaps.
Can I just
the
ask
thing
as well?
is, I noticed when you put that from the producer, was it her CV?
Yeah,
we're only getting 5 episodes.
5, yeah.
And I'm sorry, what did we all say? A lot when it came to the series that's just gone. 8. There wasn't enough episodes there. There wasn't enough time to develop stuff, characters, plots. So whoever's doing this is going to have even less episodes than what Russell had.
They also go on. Sorry, Adam.
No, I just wanted to say quickly, I do agree with you in a way, Charlotte, because I think this series with 8 episodes suffered. The character development really suffered because of the reduced episode run. But having said that, when I saw this was 5 episodes, it did make me think of Torchwood Children of Earth, where it was one story spread over 5 episodes. And I thought, well, if they do a similar type thing where it's one really good story, because I love Children of Earth, I think it's a great series of Torchwood, and it did work, then maybe 5 episodes could work in that format.
Yeah,
so I did initially think what you said, but I'm coming around to it a little bit.
I think but that's what you're talking about. It's all going to rest on the writers.
The writer, yeah.
Or the main writer. If maybe one person's doing all the writing for this, if it's only 5.
Can I?
And I just think at the current time, that idea of trust, and if there's things like that where I see 5 episodes and I go, well, if there's 2 episodes which are bad, for example,
out of 5,
then that's like nearly half your run. Which
Can I make a request now, live on Type 40? If you're going to have Sea Devils, you're going to at some point have Solarians. I don't want Paternoster Gang Solarians.
I agree.
I want classic Solarians.
100%.
With 3 eyes. I want all of that.
Totally
fantastic, and I want it.
And
back,
the wobbly head.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'd be down for that. I'd be down for that.
I think the Solarians will make an appearance. I would be amazed if they didn't. If they're going to do Sea Devils, I think it's undoubted that they'll both.
When I hear this series is coming and my fan head kicks in and I go, it could be a really good series where you could have there could be a war between the Sea Devils and the Solarians and humanity trapped in the middle. But then I realise no, we've just had a dog on a TARDIS in the last one. I'm not going to get that.
Your heart does sink, doesn't it? Your expectations are low after that.
And I think that's another thing here. Even though I agree Bonnie was really well written, she was clearly the highlight. So Russell's shown with Bonnie, is done well with a returning companion. But then in the same breath, I'm like, don't ruin Martha. Do not ruin, like, don't change her, make her different. Like, I bit of me scared because the current trend the last couple of years, especially with female leads, is to make them really hard and like action girls and hard and like nothing phases them. Like, I don't want that for Martha.
I mean, obviously, we want the character to have evolved in 14 years. Otherwise, I suspect that Freema wouldn't agree to come back and play. Not that this has been confirmed yet. We don't know for certain. But Andy Pryor and Russell T Davies were both. They were photographed with her a few months ago now, claiming that they needed her for something. And I think we all suspected it was probably Doctor Who. I think that there's going to be some decent bait attached to this to get somebody like Freema back, because at the moment she's in a play. She's in that play until I think it's late August, early September. She's never out of work. I imagine she can't pick her roles the way an A-lister can, but she's very much in demand and has done lots of good and interesting things. Effectively leading something like this could be a step up. I mean, for my part, what I see here is, just as you said, Adam, was it you that mentioned Children of Earth?
Yeah.
To me, that's exactly what this is, really. This is a pitch, a format for an event miniseries that's all one story across the 5 hours, rather than a formatted spin-off like Torchwood where it's a different story each week. So it's just the one story. So there's far more time to develop the expanded cast and the regulars, I think. Whereas, with Torchwood and Sarah Jane, both of those shows were aimed at slightly different demographics. They were inclusive of, in Sarah Jane's case, they didn't mind who watched it, but obviously Torchwood was pitched and aimed differently. My guess is that this will actually be aimed squarely at the exact same demographic as Doctor Who. And the reason why I'm convinced of this is not only the assortment of characters and the little things that we think we know about this, and you can pretty much take this to the bank now. I've heard from my sources that this is absolutely happening. It's not filming quite as soon as we think. I've heard it starts filming actually in early October. But there's lots of little things that are coming to the surface about it. But this is going to happen. But what I'm seeing here is that this is going to be an event series that's going to be placed very specifically. I think it's clear that Russell T Davies is completely obsessed with Bridgerton on Netflix. He's had the actors in it. He's referenced it. He's done a homage to it. And it's only been 9 episodes. So we know he loves Bridgerton. Over on Netflix with the Bridgerton brand, they've been very successful there with balancing their projects. So in between seasons 2 and 3, while they were filming, they couldn't quite get the third one together. They created an event series there. I think that was either 5 or 6 parts called Queen Charlotte. Funnily enough, Charlotte. So they ran this Queen Charlotte show, which again was one long story of a limited amount of episodes, just to keep people tided over. And because we know that Shoot is going to be off, he's off now. He's not making Doctor Who. There's going to be a bit of a gap between seasons 2 and 3 of Doctor Who. I think something like this will actually be placed there, and this will almost certainly. I mean, I've heard that this is aimed to come to air actually in 2026, so not next year, and it'll be there to keep the Doctor Who audience. That they've taken it for granted they're going to have grown this new audience, Simon, but to keep our appetites met with these 5 hours. That's the format. That's what they're aiming for. But of course, all this was put into motion before season one screened, and arguably Doctor Who itself is not in the place that we want it to be. So we're not dealing with ideals here, and I don't want to go over too much old ground, but we'd all like it to be different. I think, judged on its own merits, though, this could work out nicely, depending again on which nights of the week it's on, what time of day, what time of year, and who they get to be in it. Where are you with any of this then, Charlotte? Do you think that, despite your misgivings there about the way the main series was run, I mean, do you think something like this event shows they're clearly popular on streaming platforms. Do you think something like this could run on the BBC effectively now in the way that it did at the time of Children of Earth?
I think if this is almost in a good way very removed from the show, in the sense of it's its own story, like you said, it's a very concentrated story, and like Martha's the connecting point, but we've not seen her for a good amount of years, so she's sort of almost not a new character, but you've got that sort of, you've not seen her for a while, so the interest is there. I'm hesitant.
She's hesitant. She's got her doubts. We've probably all got our doubts.
Yeah.
Because it's an unknown quantity at the end of the day, isn't it, John?
Oh yeah, it is, absolutely. And I've said before, I'd want it to work. I really would.
Yeah, we all would.
I'm just a bit with what we've seen. It's once bitten, twice shy for me at the moment.
And we don't want this character besmirched in any way, do we, Simon? Characters that worked. We talked about Harriet Jones. We don't want this character who departed with dignity, and we imagine the life of these characters afterwards. We don't want them to come back and be broken people, do we?
No, we certainly don't. But I mean, you've just mentioned Harriet Jones. I'd much rather see Harriet Jones there at the head than Kate Lethbridge-Stewart. That to me is one of the main stumbling blocks of this series. If Kate Lethbridge-Stewart is there at the head, I'm sorry, but the character is dull as ditchwater. The performance is equally bad. Russell T Davies seems absolutely obsessed with this character and seems to think that he struck absolute gold with Kate Lethbridge-Stewart. But I genuinely don't think that the character or the performance or the performer, in fact, is anywhere near strong enough to carry the kind of thing that we're talking about here, a Torchwood-style show of 5 really hard-hitting, almost horror in inverted episodes, which I think could be absolutely cracking. If you make Kate Lethbridge-Stewart front and centre to that, it will fall apart. Put Martha Jones there, and you might actually just get away with it, actually, because she's a much better actress and it's a much more interesting character. So part of me actually is really excited by the prospect of a big kick-ass fight between a good version of UNIT headed up by Martha Jones and some real classic horror style Sea Devils. It could be an absolutely cracking series, this could. But it's like Adam has already said, it's down to the writing. Who is writing it?
The last time we saw Martha, she'd have evolved. She was working for Torchwood alongside her husband, Mickey, which was a big shock as well. It's a long time ago, but how we remember the most, of course, is running around with the 10th Doctor there, David Tennant in all those episodes throughout 2007. Freema Agyeman went on to great success over in the States, particularly in New Amsterdam, where she was back playing a doctor again. She was there in the white coat. I've seen some of those. It's a lot of fun. So whether Martha would be back in a medical capacity, or whether it would be as a Torchwood operative or a UNIT operative, I think there's a lot of potential there for her and for story as well, because UNIT have history with both the Sea Devils and the Silurians, don't they? And what I'd like to think this would do is tap into some of the, if not psychology, then some of the topical, not political, strictly, Adam, not political, but topical elements that some of those Pertwee stories did. I mean, I remember those confrontations that the Third Doctor had with the Silurians in particular, when they wanted to claim the Earth back. You talk about a war between the land and the sea. That's what I think about. I actually think of the Silurians rather than the Sea Devil story, you know?
That is a story that has grown on me so much over the years, the Silurians. I really like it. Now, when I very first watched it, finding it went over my head a bit and a bit hard going.
Heavy going,
yeah. But I tell you, it's one that the more I've watched over the years, the more I absolutely love it. So if we got anywhere near that, it would be good. Yeah, it is.
It's a very
Simon.
intelligent story, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, it is.
I think I love the idea that they were here before us. I just think that's such a brilliant idea that they were part of the Earth, they were prehistoric, and like they've come to now see the Earth and we're running it, and they're like, come on, this is our turf. I just think that's such a brilliant idea, and I agree, if they mine that could work really well.
Yeah, there's so much shade of grey that you can have in this series as well, you know, about that Solarian story with the brig at the end, and the Doctor is disappointed because of how it ends. You can have all of that going on in this series as well, can't you? You know, where, you know, humanity are doing unethical things. The Solarians or Sea Devils are doing unethical things, you know, and there is no right. You know, both are just doing what they can to win, basically. There's so much you could do with it, and I really hope we do get that. And like you say, it's in the writing, but I would also go back to what I said about the Solarians, and I will say this is the time, finally, to give us that CGI Merca that we want. Do it.
All of this was teased very, very briefly in Simon's favourite episode, actually, 73 yards on screen there, just briefly. The Doctor said to Ruby there, the rocks and the water, it never ends. The war between the land and the sea. So he's there describing the war as actually between the terrain, isn't he, rather than between creatures that occupy beings that occupy one or the other. So that's potentially quite interesting. Obviously, that was written by Russell T Davies. I'd be surprised if Russell is writing this. Maybe he's got a co-writer, somebody like Phil Ford. I think would be ideal, because he's very dependable, and certainly a lot more dependable than Russell is now. But I suppose we're going to have to wait and see, aren't we? It fills me with dread in some ways, Adam. You think who are they going to pull out the bag? I mean, it'd be great if it was somebody completely new, because great, some new blood, but be careful what you wish for and all that.
Do you know what, Dad? When you said Phil Ford there, my brain just went, oh yeah, because that's Phil Ford is a good writer, and actually I'd kind of forgotten all about him, to be fair, until you just mentioned him. But as soon as you said the name, I felt a little spark of, he would be good. Yeah,
great at writing adventure stories, and with a great history in the Doctor Who universe.
Where is he though? What's he doing these days? Is he
no bloody idea?
No, I was going to say that's what I mean. I'd forgotten all about him. But yeah, bring back Phil Ford, great writer.
We can hope. He was one of the driving forces. He developed a lot of the Sarah Jane adventures very, very successfully, because Russell was involved in that. Of course he was, but other people sort of took the reins afterwards. Sarah Jane Adventures is arguably the most successful, I think, of the Doctor Who spin-offs we've had up to now. We began with Sarah Jane all the way back in 1980, wasn't it, Simon, with the K9 and Company one-shot that was intended to become a series, and then, of course, we got Torchwood in 2006, all those years later with John Barrowman. Class, the lesser remembered and a lot lesser loved spin-off that ran for just 8 episodes back in, it was 2016, wasn't it? My God. Been that long? Been 8 years, really? With Catherine Kelly. I'll have to go back to that, because I think there was some merit in there, but ultimately, it didn't continue past that point. So it's been a patchy history with spin-offs on Doctor Who. It's clearly where they want to take the brand, isn't it? But it's the appetite. Have they got to pull the trigger and find out? Or is it just another gamble that they can't afford to take, John? I honestly don't know.
Well, I think they've got to take the gamble now. They've got to... I think going back to what we were talking about season 2 being in the can, this is their way also of trying to get people back on board with a kind of back doorway into the main series that people have dropped out of it. So if they can make this an absolute banger, then that could get people back on board. Whether they throw their lot in and say, well, hang on a minute, the 14th Doctor is still on Earth somewhere, so he's going to show up every now and again just to try and bump up the ratings and get people involved, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if they throw everything at this just to try and really make sure it's rock solid. So that gives me a little bit of hope that you might have people saying, no, we've really got to be on the ball with this one. we really have.
Because the potential is there that they could create event series and regular series, Charlotte, and we have this interconnected universe where characters can cross over and we all become very invested in them, and there's always content in the same way that there's mostly always content for other brands. I'm trying to think of an example where the content isn't shit. I can't think of one. But you know the brands I mean, Star Trek, Star Wars, it's all going a bit downhill.
I think what this does, and this is what it did back in the day, it lends weight to moments, like you said in Journey's End, when you saw all those faces and you were like, oh God, there's Torchwood, and you watched those episodes. There's Sarah Jane with Luke in the attic. Like it adds weight and sort of memory. And if Russell wants to do these big finales, he needs to have the world feel big again. I think that's what these spin-offs can do. It can make the Doctor Who universe, instead of being this very small thing right now, it feels back like it's gone to very small stakes, even though he's trying to do these big sort of finales. Actually, if you do it well and you spread it out and you have these different stories going on alongside, then actually you can go, no, this is a living, breathing universe again. And I think that's honestly what they want to do. And if they can do it, good on them. But and like what you guys were saying, the advantage here is when they start filming this, whether that's September or October, they have got all the feedback from series 1 now. They've got all the reactions that they can go, right, we've now got that in the forefront. Let's not do that sort of thing.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
And I think the absolute biggest thing that they have to do is they have to just start working harder to make good television. They've got to stop living in their ivory tower of smug self-satisfaction, thinking that they've got this licked, thinking that bringing RTD back it was just the answer to everybody's problems. They've got to drop that. They've got to accept that they've ballsed up with this series. And they've got to go back to basics. They've got to start the hard graft of working hard and doing good stuff instead of just thinking that they don't have to try too hard because they're brilliant at what they do. That's what they've got to lose, is the smug self-satisfaction. Otherwise, it's sunk before it's even got off the board.
Quality
Adam, do you think it's possible that in 2 or 3 years' time we could be looking at something as formidable, as successful and as loved as the former shows were, those interconnected shows way back?
Well, it's a really tough ask, isn't it? Because they are so beloved, but they're beloved for a reason. And I think what they need to try and do is tread that fine line between making the spin-off connected to Doctor Who, but have that spin-off be strong enough to stand on its own 2 feet. Because Torchwood was very much its own thing, but it was part of the Doctor Who universe. And I think same with Sarah Jane. You know, they both were strong enough series to be their own.
They had their own identities, didn't they?
Yeah. Whereas Class didn't feel like that because they threw Peter Capaldi into the first episode because they weren't confident enough it could stand on its own. So if they can tread that line and, like Simon said, deliver quality writing over thinking it's just a spin-off, so any old script will do, which is, I can't remember if it was you guys. I think it was you guys were talking about it recently on a stream about this throwaway television. You know, you were just saying about how things are written now just to be. It was you, wasn't it, Simon? I
just
think.
Content.
Netflix? Yeah, just content. Yeah, just making stuff for content's sake. That's not good enough. You know, quality writing. Yeah.
Yeah. They've got to get back to basics. They've just got to start working harder to do it well. Simple as that.
And then the rest will hopefully come in time, won't it? And we could have a new set of characters and maybe some old faces back. Yeah, people in the live chat here celebrating and expressing their love for Torchwood. A big fan of Torchwood. Several comments here, including this one from Simon Ashley, one from Shah. Hello, Shah. She's in the live chat too. Just a couple of the many comments here from people who love a bit of Torchwood and love a bit of John Barrowman as well. Where is John Barrowman? He's conspicuous by his absence now. It really is getting on. He's John Barrowman is laid bare. Oh God, no, don't do that. Don't do it again, John. No, put it away. We want you back. Yeah, we want you back in the Whoniverse. What is the Whoniverse ultimately without John Barrowman? I think we're going to find out. We're going to have to make do for the time being. In the meantime, though, it does does look like we may have Martha Jones at least, and she looks pretty stoked about that. She looks pretty stoked about that at least. Look at that face. Love it. Okay, what next? Sorry, sir. Okay. Oh, it's okay. Oh yes, it's that time, everybody. Time for a break to bathe oneself in golden voices, golden faces from Doctor Who past out there. No, I wasn't going to go there. Out there flogging bits of old tap for us in the TV of decades gone by. It's the Type 40 Doctor Who ad break, everybody. You enjoy this. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
And now the shipping forecast at 2000 hours GMT. Fourth Tyne Dogger. Easterly 5 or 6, increasing locally 7, becoming nearer. White Humber Thames, southeast, veering west, 5, occasionally 6, slight drizzle 7 miles. Visibility improving.
Give a little more with a Phillips gift.
Huge obstruction on the bridge, boss. Could be here for hours. What do you mean there's an... what's up, Doc? Good morning. I see you've got a new mobile telephone. It's Telecom. Oh, that's good. Do you mind? My telephone box is out of order. Hello, Telecom. Vandals, I suppose. This is the doctor. Who? Yes, we've got a bit of a problem. Yeah, call me when you're on your way, will you?
Doctor Who?
That's right. Maybe it's off the hook. No, I've got it! Oh!
Thank you, sir. Oh, thank you very much. Let's enjoy it. That's no problem at all, but... I've lost my wallet.
Morning Fresh.
That'll do nicely.
The super concentrated formula of Morning Fresh simply cuts through grease. It freshens your kitchen and lasts a long, long time.
What's all this?
Service charge.
Super concentrated Morning Fresh. Don't wash up without it.
Hey, this is Type 40 Live, back here after that short break, covering the past, the present, and the future of Doctor Who, both on and off screen, in a pretty civilized fashion, apart from these two. Don't know what they're fighting over that. We've been getting into the weeds there with all talk of the upcoming Doctor Who spin-off, the first from the current regime there at Bad Wolf with BBC Studios and Disney Plus and everything else that's going on there. I'm here with the panel. I've got Mr. Simon Horton. I got Charlotte Shields. We've got John Youlden and Adam there, the Geek's Handbag, Adam Charlton back as well. And yes, everybody there in the live chat across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, listening to all this nonsense and joining in. If you encourage us, we're only going to do it some more. Ezra Goldstein suggests that the spin-off will bomb as well, Charlotte. That's another black pill there in the live chat. My God. Just forget about the black pills for the time being. Just look at these two guys. These two grown men behaving like children, Charlotte.
That's a nice thought for me to go at. that's a nice thought. So I'm going to have to go naturally without the internet kicking me off, which is what it did before. So I'll say good night without.
Night, Charlotte.
Good night.
Good night, Charlotte. No. Thank you. Bye bye. Catch you in a couple of days. Bye bye. Yes, so here they are, Sacha Dhawan and Sylvester McCoy, Doctor Who legends of various class, I think. I've got a lot of time for both of these actors. I think Sacha Dhawan seems like a nice fella. And they're fighting there, Adam, over a particular Doctor Who accessory from times past. I thought this was quite appropriate, given the news about season 25. And but why would they be fighting over that particular jumper? Can you remember?
No, not really. I know what I know exactly what you're referring to, but no.
I can't blame you for blocking this out. No, of course. When Sacha Dhawan sort of got to play the Doctor there for a little while in whatever that crappy special was called, I can't remember. But yes, obviously he got to wear various bits, didn't he, from different incarnations of the Doctor, including Sylvester McCoy's iconic Simon sweater? The question marks on? Is that
well, it's really iconic. I mean, it's one of those things that it's kind of loved and loathed in probably equal measures, I would say, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. You ever been tempted to get one of these run up for you there, John? Get the pattern and maybe have a go yourself at the drop one, curl one?
What makes you think I haven't already?
Get it on, John. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who wears it best. I think Sylvester wears it best there, but it's I can see why they're both quite attached to it. Fun picture there from Big Finish. Lots of comments in the live chat. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the adverts. What else have we got?
I enjoy the adverts so much, and it doesn't matter how much I need the loo. I never go. I just love it.
We'll give you a couple of minutes now if you like. If you've broken the seal. Cute. Oh, good stuff. And lots of people saying thank you, Charlotte. Shah says, say what you like about Dewan's master. He looked great in that. He could brood even wearing something that silly. I've got to give it to him. A fine actor who was sort of wasted in that part, wasn't he? Really, let's be honest. Hopefully he'll get a second chance. I don't know.
Do you know what was interesting is when Sasha was on the behind the sofas on one of the Blu-ray box sets? Have you seen that? Where he's watching Delgado's master, and he's really taken with how Delgado is so cool and quiet, and Sasha's like, you can sort of see his brain ticking, thinking, oh, maybe I should play it a bit like that. And I was thinking, I hope he does, because I think he'd be great if he toned it down. I think it'd be absolutely brilliant.
That's how I should have done it.
Yeah, well,
the first episode he was in, and he was toned down quite a bit until the end of it, and he was much better and more sinister like that, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And then it went into the atmosphere, didn't it? And it was terrible.
If only. Yes, let us know what you think about that. Who would win in that tug of war ultimately, and who sported that sweater the better? It's not all about us, of course. We're taking your comments there across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, and you can drop them after the fact too if you're doing a bit of time traveling and coming back to us after the fact, or maybe if you're watching us from 2 weeks ago. That works too. Just leave us a comment there and we'll get right back to you. Obviously, over the last few weeks, we've continued to have a great time here at Type 40 Live, plotting the rise and mainly fall of Doctor Who, as we always do, thanks to everybody on the panel and everyone else out there. But I think it's fair to say we've all felt the absence of Mr. Simon Horton. And now he's back. Of course, that means that with him comes the Doctor Who Diary 2. We've been waiting for this, Simon, and they've been waiting for it too. Ooh.
Oh, it's lovely to be back. It is really good to be back and doing this again. So welcome to the diary, the Doctor Who Diary for the first week of July in years gone by. And I'm really glad, Dan, actually, that you showed in the advert break that you showed an advert from the great and, the late and very, very great John Pertwee, because we can't begin this week's diary without an honorary mention to the great John Pertwee, who would have been 105 on Sunday.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what a legend. We've talked about him this evening, and sadly, we've talked about him many, many times on the diary. And so we have no time to talk about John. How can we not have time to talk about John Pertwee? But sadly, we haven't. But as I say, we do have to, as I say, honorary mention to the fact that he's been 105 on Sunday. But here's a little game. I've got a little game actually for you in this week's diary for anybody in the chat that would like to play along to this, because we were not going to be talking about John Pertwee this evening, but we are going to be talking in a little while about his wife, or at least she was his wife for 5 years between 1955 and 1960. So who are we talking about? If you know who we are going to be talking about in a few minutes' time, pop a comment in the chat. See if you're right in a few minutes' time. Let's see who gets there first. I'm watching the chat as we speak. But Before we get to that, first we are setting the coordinates for some televisual treats in years gone by. And believe it or not, because it's the time of year it is, because it's now the summer, obviously Doctor Who hysteria. Oh, yeah, okay. Everybody's already in the chat. Peter Harrington, well done. I think you were first. No, Carwyn Morris, sorry, you're first. Well done. We'll get to Jean Marsh in a few minutes. But, as I say, episodes first. And because it's the summer, there are very few episodes that are screened in this week in years gone by. Only 6 of them, believe it or not. You'd think we'd have time to talk about all of them, but sadly we haven't. So no time to talk about the Time Meddler, which was just kicking off in this week in 65. The War Machines, which was hitting episode 2 in 66. And The Evil of the Daleks, which was just ending in 67. What we are going to talk about this week is it's 16 years tomorrow since Journey's End in 2008. We've talked before, about these great sort of season finales. They don't actually come much bigger than this as a season finale. So 16 years, tomorrow since Journey's End. Now, I'm going to actually start this particular slot on Journey's End with a typically humble, modest and self-effacing quote from the great Russell T Davies. Because Russell said about this episode, this is so busy and so mental and so epic and universal in scale that of course you need 2 doctors to solve it. He could be talking about the giggle. This is exactly the kind of stuff that he came out with for the giggle.
Fair point.
He came out with it, of course, 16 years ago. He's been peddling this shit for like 20 years now. So this, of course, was the finale of series 4. Last week we would have had the Stolen Earth, and this was the denouement with Journey's End. And this, of course, marks the last time, the end of the Cult of Skaro, with the destruction of Dalek Khan. That's the last we see of them. It's also really the end of the 10th Doctor and Rose's relationship. It comes to its sort of natural conclusion. Billie Piper was reportedly not desperately happy with the actual ending of this. She felt it was a bit of a cop-out. And she felt that Rose had ended up being sort of saddled with an inferior copy of the Doctor, and I think she what I can gather, she preferred how Rose had originally been written out from the series to begin with. She felt that was a much more suitable end for Rose, and I would agree with that. I have to be honest; it never sat comfortably with me. This kind of cloning of a sort of fake Doctor, as it were, and you can't have the real thing, but here have this kind of soft toy version of the Doctor and be satisfied. It never sat comfortably with me. It just felt a bit awkward to me. Did it? Am I alone in that?
No, you're not alone. Yana, you are not alone.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I see what you did there, Adam. Very good.
Thank you. I had to explain it, but
and also, of course, interestingly, it saw the end of the 10th Doctor and Donna's relationship as well, at least until they decided that actually all the bollocks that they came out with to do with Donna could never, ever remember the Doctor or she would die instantly. That's just got written off completely now. And so, again, it undermines the end of this particular sort of Doctor-Donna relationship that they had. And also, far, far sadder, it's the last time that we see K9 in the main show. Why is K9 not in that photo, one wonders?
That's the good point. And Wilf's
he's
not
just
in
run
there
off.
either.
Look, Tennant's like he's just gone.
Yeah, it's just sort of off camera, sad.
He was between David Tennant's legs and he's just trundled away.
That's exactly what. And they're all looking at him saying, K9, come back, we're having our photo taken.
If you look carefully, Captain Jack is attempting to touch grass. Look.
Oh, thank heaven.
So last time we see K9 in the main show, bless him. Oh gosh, I miss K9 so much. So this particular episode is all to do with sort of the Doctor got shot last week, if you recall that, and there was all that sort of hype about possibly was this when the Doctor regenerated. As I recall, there was sort of rumours that they were trying to stoke the rumours quite reasonably and understandably. I can't condemn them for that at all. That this might be a regeneration story. And
They managed to lock it down brilliantly as well, because the nation were furiously speculating about this for 7 days.
Hell of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, people did consider that this could well be the end of the David Tennant Doctor. We weren't convinced that it wasn't going to end here, and then of course it all got very confusing. The reality bomb was going to destroy all of existence. It was all strange, and then we end up with Sarah, Rose, Mickey, Martha, and Jack all helping the Doctor lasso the Earth and pull it back home. Does it remind you of anything? Does it remind you maybe of Sutekh being lassoed and dragged through the vortex? I don't know. I mean, I could be cruel and say that Russell T Davies is out of ideas, but I won't say that, because that would be below the belt.
Do you know how big this was at the time, though? My nieces,
it was huge.
I had to pick them up from school, and my nieces came up to me and they said, the headmaster wants to have a word with you. And I thought, flipping out, what have I done? And the headmaster walked up to me and he says, I understand you're a Doctor Who fan. And I went, yeah. And he goes, well, how is the Doctor going to get out of what's just happened in the end of the finale? And I'm thinking, flipping out, I'm going to have the police on me any second. He's come over to ask me about Doctor Who.
Well, did you ask if it was homework?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they got good jobs. Hush, hush.
It's interesting, John, because you are spot on there. I mean, this, of course, as you can see from the photo, then we've just been talking about spin-offs. We're talking about Torchwood and Sarah Jane Adventures, and of course, this is the big crossover where all three of those franchises come together and meet. And I think, arguably, this is kind of the zenith of New Who. It was never more loved than at this point. And the fact that you could cross over those three franchises and make it work, and everybody still watched it and stuck with it and understood it, proves it was popular. And in fact, of course, it was popular because it got 1.5 million viewers.
Wow.
Now, what I think is interesting is we've sort of talked about viewing figures before now, that summer is the absolute killer for Doctor Who. And this just goes to prove that actually, as long as you are giving the people what they want, even at the height of summer. So this is now, bear in mind, this is a couple of weeks later than the current season has just finished, and could only struggle to get 4 million, well, less than 4 million views. So summer doesn't have to be the killer. If you got the stuff that people want, they will come back for it. And this proves it. 10.5 million views. It made it, get this, because again, people will defend the current figures as, oh well, it's just about scraping into the top 20 of shows. Right, listen to this. Journey's End was #1 program in the UK for the whole week across all of the channels. #1 for the whole week across all of the channels. It beat the Wimbledon final, believe it or not. It beat all 5 episodes of Coronation Street, all 4 of EastEnders, and all 5 episodes of Emmerdale. Beat all of those. So actually, Russell, if you're watching, you give the people what they want, and they will watch you. You don't have to try and justify that you've managed to scrape 6 million people together after 2 months. This
and Simon, at that time, the soaps, those serial dramas that you named, were massive as well, weren't they?
Correct.
They weren't on their uppers at all. They were at their height of popularity as well. And Doctor Who not only leveled up to them, but actually knocked them out.
Spot on. Absolutely. Absolutely. This was 65 minutes long, which makes it the longest finale in history, which did actually, believe it or not, cause some problems overseas with advert breaks and things like that. And in various places, they did have to cut it down to 45 minutes or so to allow the advert breaks. My favourite fact always from Journey's End is when it was shown in Germany, this particular story, the word, because if you remember in this episode, the Daleks do actually speak a little bit of German. I don't know whether you remember this. Yeah. And they come out with exterminieren, or I'm sure that I'm not even going to attempt a German accent, but it's exterminieren, or in effect. But when the episode was screened in Germany, they actually changed that. Sorry, they redubbed that to vernichten, which basically means destroy or reduce to nothing. which of course brings us back to Nazis, because the Nazis, this was one of the Nazi phrases, was vernichten.
I see.
And of course the Nazis were infamously one of the influences for Terry Nation, for the Daleks, right back in 1963. So it's just beautifully elliptical, isn't it? See how Doctor Who works in it's poetry. It's poetry the way this stuff works. And finally, on Journey's End, the original ending for this, actually, can you remember the original ending? Can you remember the televised ending for this? It's beautiful. It's very elegaic the way they do this.
What, where they're all around the console, you mean? Or?
No, yeah, that's the denouement. But the actual ending of the episode, Adam, is when, of course, the Doctor has basically had to leave Donna, and she's not allowed to remember him except as a say.
Oh yeah.
And then we leave the Doctor just standing, leaning against the TARDIS console, very wistfully. And that's the end, and it's beautifully done, and it's the only one of the finales that doesn't end on a cliffhanger, except it was due to end on a cliffhanger. The original ending would have seen something coming through on the scanner, a signal coming through that the Doctor would have sort of noticed on the scanner, and we would have had the infamous what again, and the two Cybermen would have appeared behind him, and that would have led into the what was the Christmas episode? Was it The Next Doctor?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
That was how it was originally going to end, but they scrapped that because they just, quite rightly, I think it was even shot. In fact, it was shot, but I don't think even that it's even included on the Blu-ray or DVD, because they decided it just ruined, as I say, this beautiful poetic ending of the Doctor just standing wistfully looking into the middle distance.
That's why I was going to ask you, why did they change it? Because I've always thought that was odd. Every other Tennant series has got this cliffhanger, like the Titanic crashing through, but it was so they just thought it ruined the mood.
And I think as I recall correctly, it was other members of the production team. In fact, I think it might even have been, dare I mention his name, Benjamin Cook. I think it might even have been Benjamin Cook that talked Russell T Davies out of including the little coda of just he was the one that convinced him just end it on David Tennant's Doctor, which of course was the right decision.
Because the next Doctor, it starts more, he's more enthusiastic, isn't he? Because it's got the whole walking through the Christmas market and he's looking around smiling, isn't he? So I suppose they went that route, didn't they? And but it would have been interesting seeing Cybermen pop up.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, and I've never seen that deleted scene either.
As I say,
out there anywhere.
I have a feeling it's not included on the media release specifically. As an added extra, as a deleted scene. I'm sure it's not on there.
I've certainly never seen it.
It might not have been shot. Can't remember, but I say that was certainly the original intention. So there we go. I mean, who didn't love Journey's End? I mean, it was a cracker, wasn't it?
Again, it's one of those, we do this every time in the diary when we talk about a story, Adam. I always want to go and watch it immediately, whether it's classic or new, more often than not.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was getting you get a bit of a feeling when you talk about stories like this. It's like a warm glow comes over you when you start reminiscing about them. And it wasn't perfect by any means, but it was a hugely entertaining story. And it had so many nice things and good moments, didn't it? That it just you talking about it does make me want to watch it. It really does.
That Dalek in Torchwood, I love that.
Oh yeah, where the door, amazing cliffhanger,
brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
Don't forget that actually Gethin Jones from Blue Peter played. He might even have been that Dalek. He plays one of the Daleks in this, because again, you look back and there was this huge crossover between Doctor Who and Blue Peter in those days. Doctor Who was just loved universally at this point. He could do no wrong.
It was such a fabulous time. Yeah,
you're right, Adam. It's far from perfect. This story's far. I still look at the last viewing of the TARDIS and I just think, no. But it doesn't matter, because it's the sort of joie de vivre that he's in that episode. You just go with it, because it's just such a joy to watch those people having such great fun, and it's just such a confidence.
It's definitely infectious, isn't it? As you say, they believe in everything they're doing, and therefore, because we like them or we're invested in them, we do just go with it.
That's it. And that's the difference between the show now. It's a confident show back then, but it's trying hard. It's still striving away. There's no smugness in it at all. It still wants to do the very best it can, and it does. And say 10.5 million people, can't be wrong.
No.
So I say, yeah, happy birthday to Journey's End, which would have been 16 tomorrow. So anyway, yeah, well done, chat. Shout outs to Carwyn Morris, Peter Harrington, Crimpling to Blue, Ezra Goldstein, Nicholas Horton, a bunch of Wallies. I'm sorry it wasn't Susan Boyle that was married to John Pertwee, although it probably should have been. Nathan Huggins got it right as well. Hey B, loads of people got it right. Brilliant, well done. Nicholas Horton, yes. Jean Marsh is who we are talking about, because goodness me, Jean Marsh, OBE was 90 on Monday, just gone. 90.
Wow.
I mean, wow. All praise to Jean Marsh. And yes, she was married to John Pertwee just before Doctor Who started, so she doesn't sort of cross over with Doctor Who. And of course, there we can see her as Sarah Kingdom, who was kind of a sort of companion in the mid-60s, only in the Daleks' Master Plan. That was the only story she appeared in, but she was in through most of the run of that, and so she's always sort of classed as a companion.
Honorary.
Very much an honorary companion, and I think part of the reason she's classed as a companion is just because we love her so much. She's just such a great actress. She is a legend. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Jean Marsh is a legend. She had, of course, appeared in the show before. She'd appeared as Joanna, the sister to to Richard the Lionheart in gosh, what's the story? So look,
The Crusade.
Thank you, The Crusade. Had a mind blank there for a second, and then
all the time.
Where am I? Who am I? And then, of course, she comes back as Morgade in Battlefield with Sylvester McCoy. There we go. So she's had a good old run from sort of like 1964 right up to 80. What was Battlefield? 88,
89, right 89, at the tail end.
89. Yeah, you're right, Dan. It was the last series, wasn't it? 89. So she had a good old run. And of course, let's not forget, she does make a cameo appearance in An Adventure in Space and Time. She's a party guest, quite rightly too, in An Adventure in Space and Time. And there we go, standing right next to Annika Wills. So she's she's got a long association with Doctor Who, and that's why I think we forever think of her as an honorary companion.
Well, she's a fabulous actress, isn't she? And she's one of those people. I think it's not just. I don't even think it's honorary status, because it was quite an extended period. I think she was actually on it for longer than Adrian Hill was, but because she straddled stories, it's sort of counted differently. But because she's so well respected, because she's been around for a really, really long time, and is connected to so many people, not just as an actress, but as a writer and a producer as well. There's not much that this woman hasn't done. And she was, I wouldn't say she was famous in the 50s, but she was very well photographed. I mean, look at what a beautiful young woman here back in the early 50s. Stunning.
Amazing features, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely stunning there. She's got an incredible 111 credits on IMDb. 111.
Bloody hell.
Wow.
That's a heck of a lot. She's undoubtedly most famous, of course, for creating Upstairs Downstairs, in which she also starred. There she is, bottom photo there. She starred as Rose in Upstairs Downstairs. Can't remember how many series there were of those, but there was a lot. And again, for anybody that wasn't around,
good 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and for anybody that wasn't around at the time, Upstairs Downstairs was just absolutely huge.
It was a phenomenon, wasn't it? It was like Downton Abbey. It was massive.
It was. Oh, it was very much like Downton Abbey. It was the Downton Abbey of its day. Everybody watched it, and as I say, we forget that she created in it because she was famous for being in it. You forget that she created it. She also co-created The House of Elliot, which was a very similar series. And again, that was in the 80s. Upstairs Downstairs was enormous in the 70s. The House of Elliot was enormous. Was it in the late 80s or probably it's probably early 90s, wasn't it? The House of Elliot.
91. I like that. It wasn't the kind of show that I should have been watching it like as a 16-year-old lad, but I did really like it.
Yeah.
But it was huge. Again, you can't understate how huge the House of Elliot was. Again, everybody watched it. So this is a very, very talented woman we're talking about. She started in mime and dance actually before going into acting. And so, some of her first roles were on in minor films. She also starred in Return to Oz. And
I
Willow.
love Return to Oz.
Yeah, and she played similar characters in that to sort of Morgaine. So she did kind of carve herself a bit of a niche out as
playing witches in the 80s. Yeah.
Yes. Ooh. She was also in the Twilight Zone. She's one of only 3 actors to straddle both the Twilight Zone and Doctor Who. She was also in The Saint and in Adam Adamant and in Frenzy, the Hitchcock film. She was.
Oh, really? I've never seen that.
And because we've mentioned that, as I said, she was married to John Pertwee for a little while, that makes her one of only 2 companions to also be married to a doctor, because, of course, the other one being
Lalla Ward.
Yeah. So there's only 2 companions that have ever been married to doctors, and she is one of them. And there she is, of course, with John Pertwee. Yeah, that was back in the day when they, again, clearly pre-Doctor Who. And what a beautiful couple they are there. And doesn't he look like Sean in that photo?
Yeah. Yes, he does.
Doesn't he look like Sean Pertwee? And a sort of sad fact here that with the very, very sad passing of William Russell not so long ago, it means that Jean Marsh is now the oldest living companion that we have at 90. As I say, just turned 90 on Monday. So, happy birthday. There she is. Look at her.
Still beautiful.
Yeah.
She is a legend. She just is a legend. No 2 ways about it. She's one of our great acting favourites here in the UK.
I can't remember what the last thing I saw her in was, but I think it was only 3 or 4 years ago, some bit part in something or other. Because I think she suffered a stroke a few years ago as well, which meant that she had to pull out of the relaunch they did of Upstairs, Downstairs. I think she had to reduce her involvement in it. Because I was watching that at the time. I really liked that too. But I have seen her in little things.
She was in a few episodes. I'm wondering, is that a photo from, that's still from the relaunch of Upstairs, Downstairs, isn't it?
I think so.
She was in a few episodes, but yes, sadly the stroke precluded her being in anymore. But the fact that was many years ago, and she's bounced back, and she's still with it. Thank goodness. And Carwyn Morris, yes, she was in Willow. As I mentioned, yes, she was in Willow. I think in many ways, like David Bowie, everybody knows. A lot of people, a generation know David Bowie from Labyrinth. A generation know Jean Marsh from Willow. And from Return to Oz, those kind of shows, rather than from Doctor Who or even Upstairs, Downstairs. But
it was lovely to see her very fleetingly in an adventure in space and time, but to see so many of them, it was a blink and you'll miss it thing. But it was right to honour as many of them as they could, wasn't it?
100%, it was. It's just a nod of the hat, isn't it? It's just to say we respect you. I just thought it was lovely that all of those people, and great to see Jean Marsh there, just getting us to say, just a wink to say thank you for everything that you've done. Absolute legend. So happy birthday, Jean Marsh, 90. I hope she had a cracking birthday. I don't know what she got up to, but I hope it was a blast. She had Nando's and blew out.
Nando's blowout with Jean Marsh.
I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there at your 91st, Jean. Come on, I want the invitation to your 91st. And finally this evening, this is kind of, it's very topical, this, but it's a little bit sad because we would have been celebrating 96 years of the great director Paddy Russell. Paddy Russell would have been 96 today. And so look at her. We are very, very much wishing a celestial birthday to Paddy Russell. And I really hope that she's looking down and watching this, because, gosh, she's one of the great directors to me. We'll come to her Doctor Who work in a moment for those that aren't familiar, and it will suddenly become very, very apparent while we're talking about Paddy Russell. She started as an actor, and then she became a production assistant on the original, the Quatermass series. Do you remember those? The 3 original black and white.
I love Quatermass.
Brilliant television. So she was on those. Sadly, but get this, she died just 2 days before Dudley Simpson in 2017, as you flashed up there, Dan. Just 2 days before Dudley Simpson. And as you can see there, that photo just shows she also worked on the Omega Factor. Has everybody seen the Omega Factor?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you are in for a treat.
I recognise Louise Jameson and James Hazeldine, but I've never seen it.
Correct. That is correct. James Hazeldine, sadly no longer with us, died very, very young, far too young. And yes, Louise Jameson is in the Omega Factor. For anybody that hasn't seen it, my recommendation of the day, it's out on DVD. You can get it. The whole
I'll have
series.
to get it.
It's a short series. It was from around about 1978. It was just after Louise Jameson left Doctor Who. It's a cracking supernatural series. If you love Doctor Who, you're going to love the Omega Factor.
It looks again stone tapey. Second reference to the stone tape.
it's very much that in that ilk. Anyway, so those of you who are not familiar with Classic, who don't actually know what we're talking about, I can guarantee that you saw some of her most excellent work just a couple of weeks ago. We'll come to that in a moment. She was actually the first female director to work on Doctor Who. She started on The Massacre in 1966, and William Hartnell had reportedly never worked with a female director before.
Really?
But apparently, stop the press. Apparently, they got on really well. Hartnell really warmed to her, which is a real credit to Paddy Russell, because I would imagine William Hartnell would have been possibly relatively resistant to the idea of a female director back in those days. She would have started on Doctor Who even earlier. She was the original choice to direct The Edge of Destruction in 1964, but she started in 66. Here we can now see all 4 of her stories on screen. These are the 4 that she worked on, and this, as I say, is why you will now be familiar with her work. Barry Letts apparently said that she refused to direct any stories with tin cans. She was, from what I can gather, it sounds like she was definitely forced to be reckoned with, and she did not take fools lightly, I think, which is why she would have said to Barry, "I'm not directing anything with any tin cans in them." So her sort of golden run very much starts with Invasion of the Dinosaurs, top right there, and she sort of hit the ground running. She was something of a maverick, was Paddy Russell. On the first day of location filming for Invasion of the Dinosaurs, she was filming all of the deserted London stuff, and she didn't have any permission from either the BBC or any of the government officials that she needed to do the filming, which is just inconceivable today. So to get the right eerie atmosphere, she literally just took a camera team out, and they posed as tourists at the crack of dawn, and went round filming the deserted scenes without
guerrilla filmmaking
whatsoever. Real guerrilla filmmaking. Her most famous work, of course, is Pyramids, that you can see bottom right. That was the next story that she directed the following year in 75. We've all just been watching Pyramids of Mars on television, so as to say that it was very, very timely that we're celebrating her birthday today, because we've only just, 3-4 weeks ago, just been enjoying the revival of Pyramids of Mars. Tom was not desperately happy on this show, it has to be said. He was only a year into the run, and whereas William Hartnell got on very well with Paddy Russell, apparently, reportedly Tom didn't get on quite so well with her. He reportedly found her sort of competitive and found her style quite uncompromising and dictatorial. As I say, she was a force to be reckoned with, and she didn't take fools lightly. And I don't think she took any of Tom's shit, quite frankly.
Well, she'd proven herself, hadn't she, for the 15, 20 years in that industry, working on some big shows. So, yeah, she had nothing left to prove.
Absolutely nothing at all. The reason they clashed most notably on Pyramids of Mars was when Paddy insisted that Tom, when he was playing the mummy, got dressed up in the full mummy suit for those scenes, and he objected, saying, "No, it can be one of the regular guys. Nobody's going to know that I'm in there." And Paddy Russell argued with him and said, "No, they will. They will tell from your body language whether that is you or whether it's an extra." And I do think it's the correct decision, because you can actually tell that it's
You
Tom.
can tell it's him. Yeah, you're quite right.
Yeah.
You can tell it's him. It's his walk. It just is him. He inhabits that role. So she was right, but he was not happy with that. And one of her other great sort of claim to fame on Pyramids of Mars is, you're going to love this one, Dan. Your earliest memory, I know, is Ernie Clements being killed.
That's
You've
right.
got Paddy Russell to thank for that, because he was not killed in the original story. He wasn't going to be killed. And it was Paddy Russell that said, no, you've got to kill him. You've got to kill Ernie Clements for the horror factor. So Paddy Russell could be very much the reason you still love Doctor Who to this day. She could be the person that sold you on Doctor Who with the death of Ernie Clements.
I have this woman to thank for a lifetime loving this show.
Could well be. Could well
meeting
be.
all you guys, meeting everybody in the live. Fantastic.
It could well be down to dear old Paddy Russell. Finally, we cannot pass Paddy Russell by without talking about the horror of Fang Rock, which of course has only recently been released on Blu-ray. Paddy Russell, there it is, bottom left, and filmed, of course, Dan, let's not forget, literally down the road from you and I at Pebble Mill in Birmingham.
Yeah.
The only Doctor Who story ever to do so. Paddy Russell apparently was not desperately impressed with the Pebble Mill facility. She thought that they were poor, and she struggled with it. She was not happy filming this story, which upsets me, because Horror of Fang Rock, I think, is just a work of genius.
So you'd never guess, would you?
You wouldn't. It belies the fact that the director didn't feel committed to it. She also didn't feel committed to it because she had been slated to direct the Vampire Mutations, and of course that had to be shelved because of the BBC's big production of Dracula, and so she got handed Horror of Fang Rock as a fait accompli, and was disappointed because she much preferred the original Vampire Mutations script, but she was contractually obliged to do it, so she had to take it. And this is the point that she really, really apparently clashed with Tom quite badly, because by this is a good couple of years after Pyramids of Mars, and by this point Tom was very much into his stride, and he was taking no prisoners at all. She claimed allegedly that Tom Baker so infuriated the crew that they tried to swing a pair of mole wings at his head. These are the things that the cameras sit on, that he used sort of as a boom in effect. And apparently the crew at Pebble Mill tried to take him out with a couple of these, and she was the one that stopped because he was so infuriating. I have this wonderful quote here from Paddy Russell that we'll finish on. Tom Baker was easy to deal with at first. This was on Pyramids of Mars, but the part went to his head completely. By the time I did Fang Rock, he was desperately difficult to work with. His input got totally out of hand. It was always everybody else's fault, never Tom's. And of Louise Jameson, she says that Paddy Russell said that Tom hardly spoke to her, and when he did, it was usually something nasty. So she's really she was not happy with Tom at this point. And as you say, Dan, it's surprising because you look at Horror of Fang Rock, and to me, as I say, it's
flawless.
Flawless is a perfect word. Definitely. It's majestic. It's equally as good as Pyramids of Mars. In fact, in many ways, I think it's better than Pyramids of Mars. I think it's a finer piece of work than Pyramids of Mars. I think she had absolutely refined her style at this point. Anybody that wants to know more about Paddy Russell, of course, there's a short documentary, A Life in Television. It's on the Fang Rock DVD, and I think it's on the season 14 Blu-ray box set as well. So you can go and find more about Paddy Russell there. But I admire this woman so greatly. All four of those stories, but Invasion of the Dinosaurs, Pyramids of Mars, Fang Rock in particular, I just think they're three of the best. I just love them.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a legend.
Yeah. Anybody else got a favourite Paddy Russell story? Adam?
Well, I was just going to say, I don't know about favourite story, but there's some nice interview clips with her on that making of, isn't there? Where you really she's one of those women where you instantly understand her personality, that she, like you said, forced to be reckoned with, very strong, but also very fair. Like she just comes across it. You can see there's a twinkle in her eye and a little bit of a sense of humor. And even when she's talking about Tom being difficult, there's a little half smile. You know, you
Correct.
just get her personality. I just wanted to ask you, actually, is the BBC Pebble Mill studio, is that still a thing? Is that still there? Or is it like
long
a
gone. I was lucky enough to work there briefly, and I'm pleased to say that there was a picture of Horror of Fangrock framed up in the building.
I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember which photo it was. It might even have been that one on the left. You know, I just can't remember. But there was a picture of Fangrock in the corridors. You know, they have those corridors. They used to have those. They had the corridors with all the shows of, and they had Fangrock up there. I'm delighted. So that was a real moment of pride for me to literally just walk those corridors working in Pebble Mill just before it came down. I'm lucky enough to have one of the tiles. There were millions of those tiny little tiles all on the outside of the building, and I was lucky enough to get one of those in the key ring, because everybody that worked at the BBC Birmingham at the time that the Pebble Mill was closed, we all got, and they demolished it. I was there when it was demolished.
I always think of that. I think it's on. I don't know what it is. There's some Pebble Mill thing. Do you remember where they had people like someone walking down as a Cyberman, and he tries to
one.
Through a door and it just falls over?
It's from 1973, I think. I think it's Patrick Troughton interview.
That's it. Yeah, and I just, whenever I think of Pebble Mill, I instantly think of that.
Yeah, and they were so proud to have Horror of Fangrock there, and it's a shame that Paddy Russell found it tough making it there, because they allegedly pulled out all the stops to just really do the absolute utmost they could for the crew, for Doctor Who. And as I say, to me, it comes across in spades. As I say, out of those four, my favourite story would be Horror of Fangrock.
That's the one where. Sorry, go on, John.
No, I was going to say, mine. It's my number one's Pyramids of Mars.
Pyramids of Mars, yeah, I get that.
I'm afraid it's me too. As much as I love Horror of Fangrock, I'm not that familiar with the other two stories. I mean, I've seen A Recon of the Massacre, and I've seen Invasion of the Dinosaurs, which never left a big impression on me. Sorry, Paddy, up there. But Pyramids, it's just too much a fundamental part of my entire existence and my Doctor Who fandom for it not to be that.
Yeah. And I can just see Ezra Goldstein's just popped a question into the chat. When was Pebble Mill torn down? Around about 2005. I think I'm going to go on record and say I think it was 2005, as I was working at the BBC at the time. I got lucky enough to go and do some work in the building before it came down, and that was 2005. It's been gone a long old time. Such a shame. Richard Brooks, very clever. Pebble Mill is now indeed Pebbles. I don't even know what's there. I can't remember what's there.
It's a housing estate now, and of course the BBC, just as Nicholas Horton says, is now in the mailbox. I go to the mailbox quite a lot.
Yeah, and I worked in the mailbox as well, and that the mailbox now is actually shadow of its former self. The BBC within the mailbox is very, very sad. But for anybody who is in the West Midlands area, if you go into the mailbox, you can still see the TARDIS, and you can still see a gold Dalek. They're still in the foyer, and you can still go and say hello to those.
Because that was actually, it was when we went to the mailbox. Myself and Shah went for a bit of a night out, didn't we, Shah? And we went to have a drink, didn't we, in the mailbox? And she spotted through the window of the BBC the gold Dalek, and I had to take a picture of her. I don't think she'd seen one in real life before, and she was her eyes were out on stalks. Bless her.
Still there. You can still go and see it, and you're quite welcome. When it's open, obviously in office hours, you can go up and have your photo taken by it.
What is the mailbox?
Didn't stop showing.
I don't know what it is.
The mailbox it's literally the old post and mail building from back in the day. Massive factory in effect that they've now converted. Not Selfridges, Harvey Nicks. Harvey Nicks is in there. Nando's could have been, maybe that's where Gene Marsh went for.
They've done a job on it similar to what's been done to Battersea Power Station.
Absolutely. So it's got all shops, all restaurants, and I said the BBC's within there as well, and have been since around about, let's say, 2004, 2005. But much dwindled now, much smaller now than they were, sadly. Very small production base now, sadly. Anyway, as I say, Paddy Russell. Just happy birthday, Paddy. Thank you for very, very happy memories. Those are certainly, as I say, Pyramids and Fangrock are two of the finest stories out there. And I remember
we'll continue to watch them for decades to come, won't we?
Certainly will. So happy birthday Paddy. Today, you would have been 96 today. Sadly missed.
Bless her.
And that's your lot.
That's our lot. Wow. Yeah, well, it's after a few weeks' time, it's good to get a good chunk of the diary in. It's great to have you back, Simon. Great to have the diary back. It's the book that keeps on giving, isn't it, John?
Oh, it is. It is. Just, it's so popular. It's so good. I'm jealous of you, mate, because you just make me sound like a complete idiot half the time.
Oh, shut up. Into that. It's good. It's just good fun. It's good fun. I love doing
brilliant.
it.
It is really good.
Who knows what will be escaping from its pages next time, Adam?
Well, I was going to say, when you messaged about coming on, I nearly said to you, I can only stay till 10 because I've got a friend staying and I need to get stuff done. But I genuinely thought, no, because if I leave at 10, I will miss the diary. And I genuinely, Simon, I thought...
I hope you enjoyed it, Adam.
I'll do what I need to do tomorrow morning because I couldn't leave without... I do love it. Because like I said to you during that, there was so much stuff there that... I think I know it all, Simon. I've been a Doctor Who fan for 30 odd years. I think I know it all.
Do you know what, Adam? Though, don't you really find this out that you can always learn new stuff? Because I've just thought my final factoid that I forgot to share with you. Because this is the one thing that I thought I never knew that. Going back to Jean Marsh, she was nearly cast as Tanha in Snake Dance or as Katrika in The Mysterious Planet.
Wow.
Who knew that? I didn't know that until I started doing my research this week. Who knew? There's always something new you can learn about Doctor Who. That's why we're never going to stop talking about it. Never going to run out of things to say.
Fantastic.
Thank you for putting all of that together, as always, Simon. And did you know that about Jean Marsh? There, let us know in the comments section. Which of Jean's 3 roles in Doctor Who has been your favourite as Morgana, as Sarah Kingdom, or that part in The Crusade, that fabulous early William Hartnell story? Let us know your thoughts too about Paddy Russell, about her work. If you've got a favourite, can you pick a favourite of those 4
I want to know the
stories?
favourite of those 4 Paddy Russell stories. Absolutely. You should do a poll on that.
Yeah, we absolutely should. And there was Journey's End, of course. There was Where Have All Those Years Gone? Did that story make your childhood and liven up an otherwise, probably quite warm, but eventless week? 7 days that they couldn't go fast enough. I remember it very, very vividly. Yeah. In another 7 days, we'll probably have another Doctor Who diary. So, yes, yet more enjoyment. It keeps on coming. Thank you again, Simon. Fabulous stuff and great memories. More next time, no doubt. Yes, you're watching Type 40 live, watching or listening to, maybe doing both, I don't know, here on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook and X, in front of a live chat of friends, fans and companions, no less, talking all things Doctor Who, the past, the present and the future. It's just how we like it. We've got Adam, we've got John, we've got Simon, we've got you, and we've nearly had our full. Our fill? It's getting late.
It's your podcast.
Just want video evidence.
Play this podcast.
What app have you got?
I don't know. We didn't. Oh, I know.
This is the best conversation I've ever been involved in.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to send that to myself.
Yes.
Right? So I know it's you.
We'll see us all on there.
Okay.
You might change your mind when you see us. Don't say that, Sarah.
Oh, room for a little one. Room for a little one, everybody. Yes.
That's made my day.
As ever, we're rounding things off with a last look at the view screen. It's our regular eye up your temporal schism in search of the prettiest pictures.
You leave my temporal schism out of this.
That's exactly. Do you think that's what the Sea Devil said to the Yes, we're looking for the prettiest pictures from out there in the Whoniverse. That's how it works. We want your fan art. We don't care whether it's digital art, traditional art, cosplay, crafting, you name it. If it's art in crafty, let's have a butcher's at it. Send us its way or it's our way. We're not really sure. We don't really care how it works. It's all the same to us. We just want to have a good goosey gander at whatever it is you've got. Okay, first of all, check this one out. This is from Strawberry Gina, inspired by one of the entries in the diary this week too, Simon. You're going to like this. A fabulous cartoon. I think this probably says it all. And this could be how Billie Piper felt when she, coming away from that thinking that maybe she'd come away with the booby prize. So... This is a cartoon with both of the Doctors. One gets to go off back to normal space and time travel there with Donna, whilst the other one gets to get it on with Rose Tyler there. She's going for it. She's
it certainly is. They both are.
Certainly is.
Yeah, there'll be sand everywhere. By the end of that, but yeah, our Doctor is saying, I thought it didn't need saying, and Donna says, "Well, I'm not bothered." You get a "Ooh, Doctor" and a little heart there as Rose takes her. Everything by the looks of things. But this really made me laugh. I'd not seen this one before, John, but it just tickled me, because I'm a bit of a dirty bastard.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Oh, I love it. It's great, talented Strawberry Gina. Hats off to you.
What really gets me is the way that Rose's left leg, how she's got it pointed up and her toes sort of curling down.
Yeah, that's she's really going for it, isn't she?
Oh yeah, taking it off his shoulder. Love it. Nice, says Ezra Goldstein. Nice moves there on Miss Tyler. I think Stephen Braddock loves it. Lord Thoth, he's not so keen. He says, he doesn't like that one. Whereas Rob Alexander considers it a truly superb piece of art.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Makes me laugh. That's all that matters. Squibs says, Adam, that we still need a Meta-Crisis Doctor and Rose show, even after all this time. Would you have some of that?
No, I hated the Meta-Crisis Doctor idea. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
I can't agree with you. Sorry.
I can take it or leave it, I have to say.
No.
Frank has sand up his temporal schism. Well, you better get some talcum powder up there, my friend, quick as possible. Not my cup of tea, says Jack Thursby. And Melanie Weston says, "Oh no, the Doctor's crying again."
Oh no!
It all started there, didn't it? All started there. Let's move on with something else. This one comes from Rainey Shransky, a fabulous fan artist, and her beautiful comic book take on Sarah Kingdom, as played by Jean Marsh, who celebrated her 90th birthday this week. I love this. I love the little details, particularly with the Doctor in the background there as he looks in the Dalek master plan with his kind of summer hat on.
Yeah, because that's the hat he wears in that particular episode set in Egypt, and I love the fact that they've got the Dalek saucers flying around the pyramids. Just brilliant. I love that.
I like that.
I love Rainey's work. Really, really do. Just the little things here and there, the scaffolding around the pyramids, as if they're still being built or something, Adam.
Oh yes, yeah. Beyond the TARDIS, I hadn't noticed that. I like the fact that TARDIS and Doctor in colour as well. That works really well, actually. Really do
works
like that.
Great with the blue box, doesn't it?
Yeah,
nicely considered.
Style. Yeah.
Squib says it's wow, gorgeous and brilliant, all three. Fantastic from Ezra Goldstein. And Stephen Braddock suggests that it really evokes the 60s and that spirit of adventure. I think that's what Stephen means, John.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like it's literally like she's just watched the episode and then just decided to do a sketch.
Yeah, because they are built in the pyramids in the episode, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe that's exactly what happened. You can follow Rainey across social media, a fabulous and prolific fan artist who I think she takes commissions as well. She's done most of the Doctor Who characters, the companions, the Doctors, and a great deal of the villains too. And I think she just keeps on banging them out. So you go and find her across Instagram and X and tell her that Type 40 sent you. This evening in Great Britain, of course, it is the UK. It's the general election. But I nearly said, you know what? Then.
Did you say that?
Oh God!
It is past the watershed, Dan.
One for the Christmas tape.
Thank goodness we're not live. It'd be awful if we were live, wouldn't it?
Oh, and Shah's not even here. Usually it's the presence of Shah that makes me sad.
Yeah.
No shot. Yes, so it's the general election. Of course, it is right now. The results will probably be in soon. We will know our fate. Who could they possibly prize into number 10 to make a difference, to turn the country around? Heaven knows. Get Lenny in there. Get Lenny in there. But what about the Doctor? Surely the Doctor could put it right if we could vote for the Doctor. I bloody well, some doctors.
Yeah, only
maybe. Yeah, maybe this one. Tom Baker. This counts as a pretty picture, I think. This is Tom Baker on the steps of number 10 Downing Street.
Look at that.
All the way back in 1975 there, Simon, with Elizabeth Sladen in tow as well. Yeah. Those costumes were those from the Brain of Morbius?
They are indeed the Brain of Morbius. Yeah. So that was they were obviously shooting the Brain of Morbius at the time. I have a feeling, I'm wondering actually whether that's the that will be them entering number 10 for that Christmas sing-along that we've shown the photo before now of them in the Christmas sing-along in number 10. And they're in their Brain of Morbius costumes for that. So I'm guessing that's them arriving at Christmas.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be, yeah.
Just a brilliant photo.
Peter Harrington says, sweep for Prime Minister.
Yeah. I'd vote for that, Peter.
Isn't his profile picture, is that Spit the Dog?
Yeah, that is Spit the Dog. Yes, it is Spit the Dog.
Knowing my age now, but I love Spit the Dog.
Bob Carroll, geez.
Yeah,
Bob Carroll, geez.
I wonder where Bob is now. Tom for PM, says Stephen Braddock. Carry on type 40, says Matthew Pounder. Yes, that's my kind. Yes, so this picture from 1975 is absolutely beautiful. I can think of very few ways in which you could make it look even prettier. But one in particular, perhaps if it was colorized. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. Colorize it. Go for it.
Happily, Clayton Hickman has colorized this. Check it out.
Oh, look at that.
That is incredible.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Unbelievable talent he is, isn't he?
He's very clever. He's very good at that. It has to be said.
Excels himself constantly, this guy. No wonder he's so in demand in magazines and periodicals at present. Go and follow Clayton Hickman over there on X, and he's got a coffee account as well, so support his work. And I think you can order some prints and various tote bags and coasters and all that kind of thing. Love that photo, says Jack Thursby. Ezra Goldstein says it's a fantastic photo. I can't argue that for a moment. Tom Baker for PM again. We've had another one of those come in. several more of those. It's a fabulous picture. The look on Liz Sladen, well, actually the look on both their faces, and even the copper, they're not supposed to show any kind of emotion, are they? But I think that copper's kind of proud to be there with the Doctor as well. Pretty early into Tom Baker's tenure, but he'd absolutely made his mark, hadn't he?
Yeah, and the show was just, again, absolutely huge at this point. So it's no surprise that they would have been invited into number 10 along with the other people that were there.
I just love that stuff. Classic Doctor Who imageries. I mean, they're the kind of pictures, because that one's owned by the Mirror, the original picture. So they get shut away in drawers for decades, stuff like that, don't they, John? And then they turn up again, and it's like, oh wow, people may have seen cropped versions of it back in the Daily Mirror in the 70s, but generally speaking, there was nowhere to put them for years until the internet happened.
No, and like I've talked to you before about just trying to find images online, and that's why I love when these sort of things come out, because they're not rushed. There's clearly a lot of attention and love put into these works that they do, and I just want to keep seeing more of it. So just keep throwing more of them at me.
I mean, I don't know about you, John. I've never seen that photo before in my life. I've never seen that.
No.
Oh, before today?
No, never seen that. Never seen that. I've seen the Christmas one. I say when they're all in number 10. I've never seen them going in. Never seen that.
Yeah, we have featured the Christmas photo before, but I've got it here again. Of course, I have. There's a lovely picture
there
of inside.
It is.
Could not show that as well. Even though it's not Christmas, we couldn't possibly not see that with Ernie Wise, Ronnie Barker, Roy Castle's there, John LeMessurier's there, Graham Garden's there, Ian Lavender tucked away at the back. We've been through this several times, and we've had this picture up before, but it's never a bad one to take another look at.
It's a fabulous picture. Yeah. Is that Vera Lynn in the middle?
It is.
Yes, it is Vera Lynn, yeah. And there sits right next to Tom is what's her name from Blue Peter?
Valerie Singleton.
Valerie Singleton, and Bill Oddie behind him.
Who's the woman on the other side of Tom picking her nose?
I think that's a hanger-on. I think that's some drunk woman that stumbled in from the outside.
I think there were some school kids there.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
Oh, could be. Oh, and there's Stewpot, Ed Stewpot on the far right
from Longleat.
Oh yeah, from Longleat, of course. Yeah, he appears. He went to Longleat, the Longleat celebration. Yeah, so he's got
the Longleat celebration for the 20th anniversary of Doctor Who, all the way back in 1983, wasn't it? And funnily enough, it's 1983 that we're going back to now because it's from one classic bit of imagery to another. This image specifically that was so much a part of my childhood, Adam. And every time I look at it, I appreciate Andrew Skilleter's incredible illustration from the front cover. Blimey, what did I say then? From the front cover of the Radio Times in 1983 there to tie into the 5 Doctors on Children in Need. Now, we've all seen this hundreds of times. We've got postcards of it, posters of it, and all manner of other things. I still love this after 41 years.
Me too. Me too.
The same. Like you said, I've seen it a million times, and even just you bringing it up now just gives me the same feels. There's something about it. It's just iconic, isn't it? Love it.
Well, again, you know, part of it I think is just because, again, Doctor Who was big at the time, and this was just such a huge and exciting thing, and an exciting time to be a Doctor Who fan. So almost the artwork could have been crap, and it still would have resonated with us because we were just so excited by this coming up. And I can still remember this dropping through the letterbox when I was, about 14 at the time. And I just still remember being blown away by the fact that he just got the ghost of the John Pertwee title sequence in the black
obelisk,
in the middle of the artwork. I just remember being blown away by that because it was just so subtle, and most people wouldn't have clocked it. But of course, as a young Doctor Who fan, that was just such an Easter egg that only Doctor Who fans would get, and it just blew me away just seeing that old title sequence in there.
I'll be honest, Simon. I'd never even noticed that.
You go and look. You can't see it on screen mode simply because it's so subtle. It's barely there. You go and have a look. You'll see it. It's a ghost, no more. But it's beautiful.
It's absolutely stunning piece of artwork, and it's not even spoilt by the text. Who's Who? Doctor Who's 20th anniversary is celebrated by the 5 Doctors, who again face their enemy, the Master. That was there on the Radio Times for the week of 19th to 25th of November 1983 for the sum of just 28p. This was one of the most exciting weeks of my childhood, if not the most exciting week.
Agreed.
And seeing all the Doctors, well, most of the Doctors going up against the Master was a big part of that. And so this week, a bit of art has dropped, a homage to this, tying into today. So this is the 5 Tories. We've got
Oh no!
So in this amazing piece of artwork, we see, obviously, because the government, the government is about to change, isn't it? But here we see David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and Rishi Sunak, the 5 Conservative prime ministers that we've had over the last 14 years. There,
is the mass.
Is that the Tower of Rassilon over Boris's head, or is that Sutek?
I love the way it's actually growing out of the top of Boris's head. It looks like a little fascinator or something.
I love the fact the obelisk is the number 10 down the street.
Yeah. That's what it is. I couldn't work it out. Thank you, Adam. Brilliant. Thank you.
Sadly, I have no idea who's done this, but it made me laugh so much. I think it's great to laugh. Obviously, this is offered without any political commentary whatsoever. But we're British. We can laugh. We can definitely laugh at all this stuff. Radio Times is now 34 quid. Says Jack Thursby. It's not far off.
No, you're not far off, actually, Jack.
Yeah.
That's just the Christmas one. The Christmas one is 34.
Matthew Pounder says, send them all to the death zone.
Quite right. All of them. No political comments, just the lot of them.
None at all as bad as one another. Boris Johnson's hair always cracks me up, says the Timescales. My father was the toy maker, says Fly Highland. Well, congratulations. Send him a card on Father's Day. Yeah, Starmer looks satanic, says Steve from Braddock. And
I like the time, but Peter Harrington says, "Is that 2 fingers behind Boris?"
This is my favourite one. The Death Zone. The Death Zone, again from Peter Harrington. So yeah, obviously it's been a big day here in Britain.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that Britons can do, that the British can do, is we can laugh at ourselves and all of this at a crucial time, obviously in our political history. But seeing the 5 Tories facing off against the Master, as played by Sir Keir Starmer there, that did put a smile on my face in a bit of a heady week. So yeah, brilliant work. Whoever did this, fantastic. It absolutely will never spoil that original one for me. Who knows what we're going to be waking up to? Doctor Who style? Well, probably not that. Hopefully
I don't know.
But yeah, I think who knows? There could be an explosive shock. You know, there's one guy in particular apparently was a Doctor Who fan until quite recently, who's had a few things to say about that. But yes, let us know. I think we're still okay. We've still got the TARDIS walls to fill up with fabulous artwork, and we need you to send it our way or us its way, whichever works out for us, as long as we get to look at it. So we want traditional art, digital art, we want cosplay or crafting, anything whatsoever, and we can put it before the live chat here across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, and expose it to the Whoniverse. Expose it all. Everybody expose it all. What else? Yes, you can do this too. You can get it to us this way through our social media. Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who for that. And if you can't wait till the next show, you can always cut out the middleman or middlemen by joining us and them in the Type 40 Facebook group. I'm not saying all 4 of these guys are members of the Type 40 Facebook group, but the only way to find out for certain is to join it yourself. Go over to Facebook and type 40 into the search field there and join up. Share your memories of the classic series, the new series, and your thoughts about all new Doctor Who there, with maybe some doctors and some companions and maybe a couple of monsters. We've got a fairly lax vetting procedure over there in the Type 40 Facebook group, so we'll probably have you. Yeah, we will. Okay, this has been Type 40 Live across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X here on the 4th of July, 2024. Oh, I fancy a tart after all that, Adam. How about you, mate?
Oh, yeah, I love a tart.
Yes.
And of course, we've got to say Happy Independence Day to all American viewers. We must.
If we must, yes.
we must say Happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July.
Of course. In fact, I know that Gary Akers, the retro doc himself, is out celebrating at the moment, so he's probably 2 parts pissed when he sobers up. I hope you've had a great time, Gary, and we'll see you again soon, and everybody else in the live chat there, such as we've got Vanessa Law and various other people there. So, of course, Happy Independence Day from us here at Type 40 Live. Adam, it's been fabulous to have you back on the show again, mate.
My pleasure. What a laugh it's been. We've had a great time. Honestly, what a great time I've had tonight. Always a pleasure.
We do have a giggle, don't we? So with the series though in the rear view mirror, and we're looking forward to the Blu-rays, of course. What else have you got to look forward to over the next couple of months? Where are you going to be? Are you here, or are you going back to the States? But have you got anything you're going to see? Any events? Because you go all over the country, don't you? So what's in your diary for the next few weeks?
Actually, Dan, very little. I'm here till September. I'm off back to the US in September, but I haven't got a lot planned. I went to the Riverside event last weekend with Lou Jameson was there, and they showed some classic 4th Doctor stuff, and that was a great day. But that's the first event that I've been to since I got back. I'm just trying to take it easy, trying to save a bit of money when I go back to the US. So actually, not a lot planned. I am very tempted by this Big Finish Day that's been announced, where Paul McGann is going to be there reading a script. So I was slightly tempted with that, but
looks not to be missed, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
You did publish some pictures, didn't you, from your day at the Riverside over on your social media. So if people want to see more of you, where can they find you on social media? And plug the podcast by all means.
Yeah, so I'm the Geek's Handbag on all social media, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What's the other one? X. Twitter. And I do a Dotsu podcast with Gary. We go out mostly it goes out weekly. Everyone, we were going to do a round table discussing series 1, but everyone's gone down with blimmin' COVID. I know, just when you forget about it, suddenly 2 members of the podcast have gone down with it, like at the same time. So, but we will be back with a podcast next week, and we are going to be reviewing the next story we're going to review is Curse of Fenric, the Seventh Doctor story, which has been on our radar for a very long time. This review's been on the cards for a while. Garrett's been putting it off because it's the last Seventh Doctor story we've got left to review, and he's like, I don't want to finish it. I don't want the McCoy era to end, but we are going to have to review it, and I'm looking forward to that because it's an interesting story, Fenric.
It's
so,
great.
So the Big Blue Box podcast as well, for those of you that like to listen to people waffling on about Classic Who and the new stuff. We reviewed all the new series. We had a great time reviewing the new series all through the thick and thin of it. So yeah, Big Blue Box podcast.
Well, we hope to have you back. Since as you're here for the summer, we're going to grab you back in a few weeks' time.
Yeah,
pull you into the TARDIS and show you all manner of strange pictures that swear at you and crack loads of double entendres, same as usual.
That's what I love. That's what I'm here for.
Bring it back. Bring it back. We love to waffle on, don't we, John? Nobody does it better, I think.
No, exactly right. I think we're talented at that skill set.
Talking rubbish, basically.
One of them that seems to do it really, really well. So I'm glad you guys get to shut me up every now and again. So thank you for having me on again. It's been great fun. Had a blast.
And if you'd like to relive some of this, all that, earlier editions of Type 40 Live, all these fabulous live streams, we're really proud of this show, and we know that you enjoy getting stuck into these earlier episodes as much as we do, because people still drop comments on them. So there's our recent coverage there of the first season of All New Doctor Who. We did live reaction shows to the 2 season finale episodes in particular. Did really, really well. Thank you for all of that. There was our reaction show too to that new version of Pyramids of Mars. My God, yeah, that was about 3 weeks ago now, something like that.
Yeah. Wow.
We occasionally do our deep dives on classic stories and themed episodes, and there's our rolling news coverage as ever. Shows like this, where we look at the past, the present, and the future. News, views, rants and raves, all that kind of thing. So lots more live streams there for you to dive into. Last month, June 2024, was huge here for us. 24,000 views across all our content throughout the month. So thank you for making that our biggest month. Brilliant stuff. Keep it coming. Some likes and some subscriptions would be great. Hit the cloister bell if you want to be subscribed, and check you're still subscribed, because you know what YouTube is like. It makes YouTube makes me a bit like that. Yeah, I think there'll probably be a few angry politicians doing their pieces again in the over the next 24 to 48 hours. I would say they can't always all be as jolly as Chris Eccleston, can they? But that's it. Simon, brilliant to have you back. I hope to have you again next week as well. You do seem recharged and re-energized and smiling again after weeks of shooting Gatwa stuff is now in the review mill.
Because it's just great to talk about proper Doctor Who, and as you say, it's in the rearview mirror and it can stay there as far as I'm concerned. I'm very happy to see it just getting smaller and smaller and disappear into the distance.
More news, reviews, rants and raves, cold shoulders and hot takes next time here at Type 40 Live. Same time and place. Don't miss that. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Live. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
I expect an audience not all to agree with me. But I don't expect the first questioner to be somebody who has produced 8 separate BBC programmes over the course of the last year, including Doctor Who, which I used to love, and they've completely ruined.